twice been Essex's top scorer of the season. Now, where I would implore Essex to be very careful, both Ryan Tendescata and Ravi Bopara are only on a one-year contract as far as I am aware. For goodness sake, don't let another elder statesman go. Look at what those two did yesterday. Some people run Ravi down, and I know that he's said to have put a word out of place recently, and hence he was dropped for 2 games. And Ryan Tendescata earlier in the season was said to have had a bit of a bust-up. But you know, elder statesmen will put a word out of place here and there, but those two players are worth their weight in gold for Essex, even at this late stage. In Ryan's case, he's 39. Ravi's only 33. He's one of the fittest around. If he isn't taking brilliant catches, he's taking wickets, or he's scoring priceless runs. He's a class act. Please keep him.
Just talking about one other senior player who's come back into the limelight just recently. Of course, Varun Chopra was left out early on after a run of very poor scores. Got 267 now, admittedly in a second 11 championship game against Kent. I just thought there might have been a case tonight for him coming in with Wesley at 3, putting Wheater down to 7, possibly leaving out Walter, who hasn't had much involvement. Just a punt on Chopra might have been a possibility tonight. They haven't gone that route. They might have thought about it.
No, I quite agree. Chopra, who was, as you said last night, in such brilliant form in the 50-over competition, only played in 5 of the 8 games due to injury, but he scored 3 centuries, and of course last year he got about 7 50s, didn't he, in the T20. Yes. He was the only Essex batsman to emerge with any real credit from that, as we're going to see the first ball of the match bowled by Fred Klassen, who comes in from the river end to bowl to Tom Wesley. Wesley and Delport opening. First ball, and I thought they were going to get a run there, but they're not. It's well stopped at mid-wicket by Heiner Kuhn, and the score remains at 0-0 after 1 delivery. Essex have won the toss and batted.
And both of these players got out for team dismissals last night. It's fair to say that Delport peaked early. He's a bit like Citizen Kane. That's right, that would be a good example there. First picture, the greatest of all time, and struggling to match it since.
Left arm over, Fred Klassen comes in. Bowls to Wesley, and Wesley's flicked this one away. It'll be stopped on the square leg boundary, and they just get a single. Good bit of fielding, and Essex are underway. Single, 1 for no wicket, having elected to bat. Lovely sunny evening in front of what is supposedly a sellout crowd. There's still a fair few seats untenanted, but I dare say quite a number of people are making their way to the ground through heavy traffic.
And it's fair to say that Surrey game is the one really good memory for the home crowd here. It's been a very disappointing T20 for the home spectators, Paul. 2 huge defeats against Hampshire and Somerset, and I think 3 rainouts. So that Surrey game with the Delport and Lawrence combination was very much of a lone act.
Good points. Klassen's in again. Bowls this time to Delport, and Delport plays a very loose shot indeed here, and he let the ball get under him there, and it fortunately wasn't cleaned out. It just missed the stumps vis-a-vis either the off stump, or it just missed the top bail as well, and so already he's had a bit of luck. It's 1 for no wicket, 3 balls in. Yeah, 129 of course in his first innings, and he hasn't got another 129 yet from the subsequent innings he's played. Just made 150 since that, as Klassen bowls again, and here the ball is edged. It's a false shot. He was looking to drive it in front of the wicket. It's gone down to wide third man, and they can come back for 2 rather fortunate runs. 4 balls in, choosing the bat, 3 for no wicket.
Tom Wesley's been pretty consistent. Top score of 86 not out. Got a 30-odd last night. Batted nicely. He's done pretty well. Dan Lawrence has obviously, I think, been the star batsman of the competition. He really has been outstanding.
Indeed, good to see Dan do so well, as here is Klassen again. Bowls to Delport. Delport will get at least 1 here. It's well fielded just outside the circle by the skipper, Sam Billings, and he's at extra cover. And they get a single. The score goes up to 4 for no wicket, of which Delport has 3, and Wesley, who's come back in onto strike for the last ball of the over, he's got 1.
Interesting bit of international news. James Anderson ruled out for the series, and Craig Overton coming in as standby. Probably won't play, so probably will be available for Somerset, but yet again Somerset being called upon for players, which is probably good news for Essex.
Klassen to complete the first over. Bowls to Wesley, and Wesley's flicked this one for 4. That was just straying onto leg stump, and anyone who knows about Tom Wesley knows that that's a fatal place to bowl to him if you're a bowler. You will just get hit to the boundary, and all you have to do is help it on its way down the fine leg. 8 for no wicket, decent start for Essex, winning the toss and batting. Wesley 5, Delport 3, 8 for none in 1.
And Glamorgan have won the toss and the batting at Cardiff, and looking down the lineup, I recognise most of the names, which is encouraging, because I was concerned there might be a whole lot of youngsters playing tonight, although you could say the youngsters might do better than the seniors for on their form so far.
No, that's right. But just looking to see who's going to bowl the second over here for Kent, and not quite sure who it is at the moment. Might be Qayyum. I think it's going to be an over spin.
We shall see
to start
how
with.
they vary it. But pretty good first over for Essex. That they got the scoreboard moving. Tom Wesley over an opening boundary. We're very pleased with that, and they want to make a good start here. Very important, because a game that Essex need to win, and then hope other results, particularly that one, of course, at Cardiff, go their way.
So, second over, and the first ball, Delport has driven down to mid-off, and they get a single, and it is in fact Alex Blake.
Yes.
Surprisingly to my eyes, bowling the first over from the Hayes close end. In fact, they don't get a single. I do apologise, I thought they would run for that, but Delport's made up for it with a 6 off the second ball, driven back over Blake's head. Pretty straight 6 indeed, got hold of it well, maybe not right out of the middle of the bat, but 6 runs nonetheless. So Delport now has 9, Wesley 5, the score's 14 for none in 1.2.
Played a few of those 6 weeks ago tonight, Paul. That was his favourite scoring area, straight down the ground against Surrey.
Well, he just hit 6 after 6, didn't he, in that innings?
Yeah.
And young Dan Lawrence, actually, I believe I'm right in saying, scored at an even faster tempo.
It was amazing that. Surrey, of course, were set the equivalent of 15 super overs in a row, to just over 225 in 15 overs.
Now, we've got a hold up, not because the ball went out of the ground, but because it's disappeared under the sight screen at the Hayes close end, and I think the umpire now is calling for a replacement ball. The umpires are Gunnar Gould and Paul Baldwin. And
well, it's a bit of an unusual delay to get that lost in that particular area. Normally they retrieve quite quickly.
Yeah, because it's they have got it back now.
Yes.
Another place where the ball has sometimes disappeared and taken ages to retrieve, particularly in championship cricket, is for the ball to end up under the covers, away in front of the scoreboard, away to our left.
Lovely evening here. Summer has returned after, of course, very much disappearing here at Chelmsford for much of the T20. This extraordinary run, which had, I know the Essex chairman sort of not quite being able to believe, besides luck, with the rain arriving in that week, a couple of weeks ago. Every time Essex were playing, it rained, and the other evenings were all relatively fine, but at least we got a nice evening to finish.
Indeed we have. Blake comes in, off break bowler bowls, and this ball is hit back down the pitch to the bowler. There's no run there, but Essex going along nicely at this stage. 14 on the board. We're just in the second over. And Blake again around the wicket to the left-handed Delport, and he attempts to sweep. That's got to be a wide, because it was well outside leg stump. Nicely taken by Ollie Robinson, but batsman had not left his ground. 15 for no wicket in the second over. Essex winning the toss and batting on this lovely late August evening, and Belport has belted the next ball to the extra cover boundary. Fieldsman inside the circle, got fingertips to the ball, but not much he could have done about that, and the score moves up to 19 for no wicket. We're still in the second over. I believe that's possibly been signalled a no ball. Yes, indeed. Gunnar Gould has got the old helicopter signal out.
So a wide and a no ball from the spinner in the second over, not what Kent wanted from the
not at all
situation.
If this goes for 6, it will be very expensive. He comes in, bowls, but in fact Delport just it's a flatter delivery, and he just drops the ball in the offside and takes a single. So that's well bowled by Alex Blake there, but nevertheless it's going to be an expensive over, because the score's now 20 for no wicket, and 12 runs already have come off the over, and there's still one ball left because of both a wide and a no ball. And as Nick says, you don't really expect that from a spinner. Blake just going to bowl for the first time to the right-handed Tom Wesley, hence the delay while the field is repositioned. Blake bowls short, and Wesley has rather missed out here. It was an invitation to hit the ball to the cover boundary, but he didn't pierce the infield, hit it straight to extra cover. He'll be annoyed with himself over that. However, no need to be too annoyed, because 12 runs have come from the second over, and Essex, having chosen to bat with Delport on 14 and Wesley on 5, 20 for no wicket.
So the Southern Group, how does it look at the moment? Well, Sussex are home and dry as group winners. They've got 19 points. They're playing Gloucestershire tonight, who are guaranteed to qualify, and Gloucestershire just need to, definitely have a home tie. If they win, they may still have one even if they don't win. And we've got Kent in third place on 14 points, and remember that they very quickly got to 10 and have really struggled to get much beyond there, but they'll know that if they win this game, they definitely qualify. And then the four sides on 13 points, Somerset and Middlesex, who are playing each other at Taunton. Somerset are batting. And then we've got Essex playing here and Hampshire playing Glamorgan. Glamorgan are batting at Cardiff. And basically Essex need to win this game and hope that Hampshire fail to beat Glamorgan.
Fred Klassen, born in just over the border from Kent in Sussex at Haywards Heath. Left arm over, is going to continue from the River End. And bowling initially to Cameron Delport. Delport has hit this down to mid-on. They can take a quick single. The score moves to 21 for none in 2.1, of which Delport has 15.
And one of the good things about the sequence of results that went Essex's way last night is it's taken Essex's poor net run rate largely out of the equation, which could have been a problem for them had Middlesex won last night. The fact is that they know there's really just one other result that has to go their way, and even though their net run rate is poor than everybody else's, it may not yet count against them.
Well, Wesley was all ready to face the next ball, but we have a fielding change. The man taken out of the slips and trotting across to extra cover. And of course we're in the power play. There are 5 men inside the circle on the offside, and the 2 men who can be outside the circle are on the leg side boundary. And here's a ball well outside off stump, but not a wide, and Wesley doesn't really move the feet there and flails at it and misses it. Just needed either the front foot or preferably the back foot actually to step across, and he could have reached it, and quite possibly if he'd found a gap, picked up 4 runs. It's a dot ball, and it's 21 for none in 2.2.
Yes, Kent feeling the pressure a bit. I mean, they're hardly being convincing in this competition in recent weeks. So if Essex can make a good start, they'll certainly feel the effects of that quite quickly. Kent looking to try and bounce back after a disappointing defeat last night.
Switching to round the wicket now. Klassen bowls, and that ball is very well caught at extra cover, and that is the end of Tom Wesley. This time he did move the foot and hit it well, but a little bit too well if anything. He just didn't quite get over it, and has holed out to extra cover and departs for 5, and Essex are 21 for 1 halfway through the third over.
Well, the first 4 dismissals last night were all very similar. They were all catches to the infield. Actually, that was a better, more convincing shot than any of the 4 that we saw that resulted in dismissals last night. They were all rather dinky shots, trying to improvise, and didn't work. At least that was a full-blooded cover drive from Tom Wesley. A little bit unlucky, I think. He hit it pretty well, but nicely taken, and it means that Essex lose an early wicket. But they'll know that there's some informed batting in that line-up tonight with Bopara and Tendascardi, who had that terrific partnership. I suspect it'll be Wheater at 3, though there would be a case, I think, for perhaps moving everybody else up one.
Yeah, he's there now.
Yeah, he's come out, and just feel it would be interesting to see how he goes. He's been perhaps a little bit disappointing at 3.
He has. He hasn't come off at all yet this season, so I agree with what you say there. I'd move him down to 6 or 7. Catch was taken, by the way, by the South African skipper, Faf du Plessis, who's just joined Kent. Used to play for Lancashire back in the day. Saw him get 100 against Essex, I should think a good decade ago now, up at Old Trafford. And here comes Klassen again. Fred Klassen in from the River End, bowls to Wheater. Wheater flicks the ball off the pads, but straight to Heiner Kuhn at mid-wicket. There's no run. Score remaining 21 for 2 in the third over. Kent, who began in great form in this competition, won their first 5 games, which included a convincing win over Essex in the match at Canterbury 5 or 6 weeks ago. But it's all rather fallen apart in the second half of this T20 qualifying round as Klassen comes in again, bowls to Wheater, and Wheater just plays a shot at this really without foot movement, attempting to wipe the ball through the offside, misses, taken by Ollie Robinson. Again, there's no run. This is a top over from Fred Klassen if he keeps this up, because Essex, who began it at 20 for no wicket, are now 21 for 1, coming to the end of it.
Yep, good fight back for Kent. They needed a good over after that rather poor second one.
Klassen bowls. Wheater this time watches the ball. That's better, but he's picked out extra cover there, and once again there'll be no run. And that's a fantastic over from Fred Klassen, because he's taken 1 for 1 in that third over, which sees Essex now lurching at 21 for 1 in 3.
Well, Kent would dearly like to qualify, because they don't really have much to play for if they lose tonight. Had this tremendous start to the competition, done wonderfully well in the championship. I know they've twice been bowled out for less than 60 by Somerset and Essex, but really they have been the aberrations, and they fought all the way in that game at Canterbury, and in other circumstances might even have won it. But it's been a terrific campaign for them, a side that many thought would go down in the championship, and they had this great start in the T20. But the season could rather come to a sort of end in terms of great meaning tonight for Kent if they lose, so it's a big game for them.
Certainly is. And coming into the attack at the ace close end is Hardest Villiers, and he's a pretty useful cricketer. Going to be bowling round the wicket to the left-handed Cameron Delport. Essex could do with Delport to finish this competition with a flourish, really, as he now faces Villiers from the ace close end. Bowls, that's well outside off stump, and Delport drove at it, but he needed to get the right foot further across toward the ball, and in the end it was just too wide for him to reach. But having said that, perfectly fair decision by Gunnar Gould not to penalise the bowler with a wide, and it's 21 for 1 in 3.1.
Yes, you could think of lots of examples in music and film and theatre of people who've started with their best ever performance and never been able to match it since, and maybe he can match it tonight.
The old one-hit wonders syndrome. Next ball, and Delport's got a thick inside edge into his pads. Good call from Wheater to call Delport through for a single, precisely because the ball went nowhere. It virtually stopped in the crease, and that can be one of the safest singles you can take. There was inside edge into pad, so the run goes to Delport's account. He has 16 out of 22 for 1.
And it's good for the crowd. Obviously it's a good sellout crowd tonight. Everybody's turned up, and you think that there's a lot of cricket for Essex supporters in the middle of the season, but with all the rain that's been around, Paul, actual meaningful cricket at Chelmsford has been a rare event in recent weeks. And so the most interesting action after that Surrey game has been away from home. Those very good wins at Bristol, at Hove, and indeed at the Oval last night.
Next delivery, and that's on the full and 4 runs, and Wheater there. One of his favourite shots is to step across the stumps, and is probably looking for the scoop there, but actually it was a full toss, and he just made sure he got some bat on ball and deflected it through fine leg and past the actual fine leg fieldsman inside the circle. No hope of cutting that off. He's at 45 degrees. The ball went at about 30, at 26 for 1, and Wheater gets off the mark.
Yeah, that was a nice stroke from him. Nice intelligent shot, just helping it round.
Villiers bowls to it. This time Wheater steps away, clubs the ball, very well fielded at mid-wicket, and there is no run. Alex Blake there, a fine fieldsman, and cut off what possibly would have been a boundary had he not just dived to his right, and score remains at 26 for 1 in the 4th.
Essex's prize, if they were to qualify, and they would almost certainly do so in 4th place, will be a trip to probably Chester Street, because Lancashire are the group leaders in the Northern Group, and they're looking to beat, if they beat Leicestershire tonight at home, they will certainly win the group.
Villiers bowls again. Wheater, and that has been cut over third man. May well have gone for 6, and has. It's just out of our sight away to our right, our view masked by the Tom Pearce stand, but it always looked as if it probably had the carry to go all the way. That's very well played by Wheater. He got a short ball just outside off stump and quite deliberately uppercut the ball for 6. Wheater, who, for all the fact he hasn't really come off in this competition, has been in fine form in club cricket for Frinton. I noticed he made a half century for them at the weekend. He has moved on to what should be 10. They've only credited him with 8 there, but that was 6. And the score is 30 for 1. As the next ball is well outside off stump, but legitimate. End of the over. Now I'm a bit confused here, Nick, because they've only given him 4 for that, but the umpire clearly raised both hands.
So we have to ask our scorer, David, does he think it's 30 or 32? He thinks it's 32.
Yeah, I'm sure he's right. The signal was definitely 6.
Yes, let's hope that they managed to
and I thought
sort it out.
I thought it cleared the boundary by some way.
It looked to me like it was a 6. It was just sort of in the margins of our field of view, but it did look like a 6. And
should be 32 for 1 with 10 to Wicket.
He's signalling frantically, but he's got he needs another couple of runs on his card. So anyway, he's made a good start tonight. And I say, his record in this competition this season hasn't been particularly good, but maybe this might be his night, and it might be quite justified that he's coming at number 3 ahead of the principal run getters of last night, and in the case of Lawrence, of the competition.
Still, the scoreboard hasn't given him the 6 there. Unmistakably, Gunnagle raised both hands above his head, or at the side of his head. So Claessen's going to bowl again, and this is a wide, way down leg side. And the score, well, I think it should be 33 for 1. Our scorer, David Jackman, agrees with me. But the official board at the moment just has 31 for 1 for the very obvious reason that they've only credited Wheater with 4 for the uppercut, which was clearly signalled 6.
Encouraging start for Glamorgan. More on that in a moment.
Claessen has switched back to over the wicket. Bowls to Delport, and Delport has hit this high in the air, and 6 over square leg. There was a fieldsman not that far away, but far enough away for it to go all the way. Let's hope that we don't get a second occasion where a batsman hits a 6 and he's only credited with 4. That has gone for 6, and the score we think should be 39 for 1, but the board insists it's 37 for 1.
Yes, and it depends on which board, because away to our right it's still saying 31, but the board we tend to rely on, electronic one, saying 37, but I think that's a couple out as well.
It could make a heck of a difference as well.
We've got a 31, a 37, a 39. Take your pick at the moment.
Yeah. Well, we'll go with the Jackman method.
Yes,
if it's good enough for David, it's good enough for me. And as I say, the signal clearly was 6, and it looked to have cleared the boundary easily as Claessen's in bowls, and this ball is dropped on the edge of the circle at mid-on, and it was hit with venom by Delport, but that could be an expensive miss by Imran Qayyum, and they get a single, and Delport moves along to 23, and the score on both boards here is 38 for 1. On our board it's 40 for 1, and Claessen yet to finish this over.
Yes, that could be an expensive miss. It was coming to him quite hard, and he got hands to it, but couldn't hang on.
A life for Delport. Moves up to 23 with the single they subsequently took, and switching again to round the wicket now. Claessen is in to bowl to Adam Wheater, who we think should have 10 on the board. He's only got 8, and he's bowled. Whatever he's got, he won't be adding to it. It was well pitched up. Again, he rather drove at it without foot movement, and it beat his defences and went into the stumps. And Wheater, really a microcosm of his season in this competition. He's wicket kept very well, but his batting hasn't remotely matched up to what we know he's capable of, and he departs for either 8 according to the official scoreboard, or 10 as we think he should be credited with.
Yeah, and in the end a rather tame dismissal, just drove round 1. Threatened briefly, a nice start to his innings, but as I was saying, he's yet to register a significant score, and he might have to wait for the quarter-finals if Essex fans get what they want tonight for him to have a chance of doing so. I mean, just looking at all the scorecards, looking at electronic scorecards online, all saying 8, so maybe there was some late decision that had not carried, but it did strike us as a 6, but everyone seems to be fairly unanimous in that he's got 8, so I suppose we'll have to live with that for the time being. But it's 2 good breakthroughs now for Kent, and it's a pretty even start all told, I think, with the 2 wickets having gone down.
Yep, we must go by the board if by this stage they've not credited him with a 6. As here comes Claessen, bowls. He's got both the wickets to fall so far. Lovely shot for openers there, has gone through towards the extra cover boundary and over it, as the applause you'll hear in the background will tell you. And it's Dan Lawrence who's come in to join Cameron Delport. And Lawrence has been Essex's batsman of the tournament this year, and he did what he did last night. Others look to be struggling, and he's came straight in last night and hit a boundary, and he's done the same again. A lovely, authentic cricket shot. Head right over the ball. A bit of a note to Adam Wheater there, because it was a very similar delivery to the one that bowled Wheater. Very well played by Lawrence. The score to 42 for 2. Come to the end of the 5th over. Klassen bowls, and Lawrence has back cut this one, but straight to the fieldsman, and there will be no run. And in fact, there's still another delivery of this over to come. 42 for 2 as we near the end of the 5th over.
Angela Morgan had 48 for 1 in the 6th over against Hampshire. Nick Selman made 33 from 19 balls, but he's just gone to Chris Wood. So that's the latest news from Cardiff.
Is Colin Ingram now at the crease?
Let's have a little look.
Man who got 100 after 100 against Essex.
Yes, he is. He's on naught.
Yeah. Let's hope he gets 100 tonight from Essex's point of view. As this ball goes through outside off stump, Lawrence doesn't lay bat on ball. Tried to nibble it down to third man and failed, but he's still there on 4. With him at the other end, life in that over, Cameron Delport put down at mid-on. Wheater was subsequently bowled for what we must now call 8. And at the end of 5 overs, Essex choosing to bat on a lovely Chelmsford evening, 42 for 2.
Yes, a pretty even start. Obviously, a couple of wickets for Kent. Some nice strokes that we've seen. But I think all told, not a lot to choose between the sides after the first 5 overs. 42 for 2. Both sides having to win this game, because Kent know that after their great start, if they don't win this game, they too are going to be out of the competition. So important one for them as well. It's going to be Viljoen from the Hayes close end bowling to Delport, who drives up towards mid-off but with no power, and therefore a quite straightforward single. Just playing that one just so it didn't quite get to mid-off quickly enough to risk any danger of it being a sharp single. It was a nice leisurely jog through. So Lawrence has the strike, and it's 43 for 2 in the 6th.
Yes, Delport's got that wonderful 129 against Surrey, but nothing in the way he's batted tonight suggests he's in quite the same form at the moment. He has hit 1-6, but generally speaking hasn't quite got his timing. Batted
nicely at Bristol, played a big part in the
got
victory
a 50
there. As here is a good delivery. That's a sharp delivery indeed from Viljoen, which beats the attempted cut shot from Lawrence. That one was on him quite quickly. A nice piece of variation, and Lawrence is just going to have to be watchful of that. He wasn't quite there for the shot on that occasion.
No, you're right. It was a really quick delivery, easily the quickest delivery of the evening from Viljoen. And, well, it was through Lawrence, really, some time before his back came down.
43 for 2. Essex won the toss and chose to bat. And here, Lawrence just plays that quite nicely. Late, just off an open face, down to third man and collects his 5th run. The score goes to 44 for 2 on a beautiful evening with just wispy high cloud, and how nice to say that after all the rain problems here at Chelmsford in the middle of the competition.
Mitch Claydon, the fieldsman down there at third man, and has the build of a sort of rugby player in the scrum. He's a very powerful man. He's about 6'2", and not quite as broad as he's long, but he's certainly a considerable figure.
Ring of 7 1-savers in the last over the power play. None of them will do anything about that, because Delport's crashed that just wide of mid-off, and it's gone away for 6. It's just cleared the boundary at the Hayes close end, and when he can get that drive going as he did against Surrey, he is a mighty dangerous performer. That was a shot we saw so many occasions 6 weeks ago tonight, and he's played a couple like that this evening, and the 50 is up in the 6th over.
Well, that's more like it. I was saying he hasn't really got his timing this evening, but he certainly timed that one nicely, and hopefully from an Essex point of view, it's a portent of things to come.
So Delport, what can he do now? He's up against Viljoen from the Hayes close end. Comes in, almost plays onto his leg stump there, but gets 4. A little bit fortunate that he was on the back foot and just went on a swivel pull, but that's come very much off an under edge, far too close to a leg stump for comfort. But it's flown past the keeper and down to the fine leg boundary for 4, and 10 from 2 deliveries have got Essex really moving now. 54 for 2 in the 6th.
Nicely described, as you say. He was very, very fortunate, could easily have gone into the stumps. But here's where quick bowling, and Viljoen's upped his tempo in this over. It's a two-edged sword. it can get you wickets, but the ball doesn't have to disappear quickly to the boundary.
Bill Young goes round the wicket to Delport now. The full toss, and he drives on the bounce to extra cover. Very nearly holed out there. Wasn't quite in control of that shot. In the end, it got to extra cover very quickly, and he parried it down. That was Klassen. He couldn't prevent a single, but that was on him quickly, and it wasn't too far off from being a catching chance, but in the end it didn't quite carry. So a good over that for Essex, and the score has gone along at the end of it to 54 for 2, with 34 now to Delport and 5 to Dan Lawrence, and 55 for 2 after 6 is now the score.
Yeah, 13 off the over. Essex have had some good overs here. Second over went for 12, the third for 11. The third only for 1, but then the fourth for 11. 10 off the fifth, and now another 13 off the sixth. The end of the power play, but 55 for 2. Essex do tend to lose too many wickets in the power play, as was true last night, but then of course Tenduscarter and Bopara came to the rescue with that fifth wicket unbroken partnership.
So at the start of the new over, and it's played away off the back foot and just eludes short third man and goes down towards the rope, and if that's not quite stopped, then it's gone for 4. Forced away by Delport off the back foot, and 4 more runs go to the total. Clayton coming on and going to the boundary. It was a parry, a bit of a misfield at short third man. Again, got to the fielder very quickly, and in the end he had to chase back to the third man boundary from short third man and couldn't stop it.
Yes, the Kent fielding hasn't been the best I've seen. The 3 or 4 errors, and we had 1 drop catch.
The veteran Clayton goes round the wicket and bowls, and that's driven away to cover, and this time there's no run. So the glut of scoring which we've seen in recent times just momentarily stops. But Essex have done well off the last 7 or 8 deliveries. 59 for 2 in the 7th, and a game they need to win, as indeed Kent do. The one difference is that Essex aren't guaranteed of qualification if they win, whereas Kent, with that vital extra point, are. Here's Clayton again, just a little bit of an adjustment in the field. We're out of the power play. We've got a slight delay because Lawrence just needs a bit of assistance from the umpire about something. We sorted that out.
Bat handle.
Yeah. So he waits now at the non-striker's end as Clayton goes around the wicket, bowls a slower one, and it's driven away to cover. A nice piece of fielding there. And having said that Kent haven't fielded very well, Billings promptly produced an athletic piece of work running around at cover towards extra, but there was always going to be a single, which takes the score to 60 for 2 in the 7th over.
Billings, ironically, of course, a wicket keeper by trade, but Ollie Robinson is doing that job, and Billings setting a very good example in the field with a lovely bit of fielding there. He got himself in a position where if there was a run out in the offing, he could have effected it.
Here's Clayton again, bowling driven, good looking shot, but there's a sweeper out there now with the power play having finished. That was a nice stroke from Lawrence, but it only gets him a single. But he has looked very, very good with the 450s, 3 scores in the 50s, a couple of unbeaten, and 69 his top contribution, and he's been very good indeed, a model of consistency, averaging 45, just on 46 in the competition, and over 320 runs, which he's hoping to add to tonight. Comfortably the leading run scorer. This is a nice stroke away down the ground this time by the left-handed Delport, down to long on for a single. Takes his score to 41, 62 for 2 in the 7th.
So Essex ticking along quite nicely. They're certainly laying a base from which they will hope that they can get this score up to somewhere around about 170, 180, which would certainly put them in the match with a chance.
Yes, I suppose at the moment they'll be thinking they can get more than that, with still plenty of batting to come. But Clayton up to the wicket, bowls a full toss. That slightly takes Lawrence by surprise, but he reacts late and just pushes it away towards deep mid-wicket. Almost a defensive push, as if he was surprised by it. I wasn't quite sure immediately how to react, and in the end was probably quite happy just to take a single, which takes him to 7, 41 to Delport, and 63 for 2 after 7. Essex, who won the toss and chose to bat on BBC Essex, 765 metres medium wave, and online and via the BBC Sport app. I'm Nick Little, with me is Paul Newton.
Thank you very much, Nick. Yes, I think he played it well, actually, Dan Lawrence, because it was a slower ball. Clayton took all the pace off that, and as you say, Lawrence had to make a late adjustment, did so well. One of the trying things about scoreboards nowadays, Nick, they were saying this in the test match the other day, between overs they show you pictures of things and adverts, and the trouble is that you've no longer got a reliable guide to what the score actually is. It is, as you said, 63 for 2, but in the previous over another run had been scored in the meantime.
That's right. which is quite frustrating, isn't it? Anyway, we're going to have Imran Qayyum is going to have a go now, and he's going to bowl round the wicket from the Hayes close end, and he'll start with a delivery which signals a wide. It's actually going down the leg side, and bails are removed, but it's a wide all the same, and so we'll have to bowl that particular delivery again, which he does now, going round the wicket, and the right-handed Lawrence plays a nice stroke on the backward for 4. Lovely stroke, that's waited for it and punched it away just wide of backward point down to the pavilion boundary for 4. Lovely stroke and good signs from Lawrence already, and 67 for 2, he goes to 11.
Well, he's a slow left arm, Imran Qayyum, and I remember he had a very good game in the game at Canterbury, very hard to get away, so well done to Dan Lawrence there to hit him for 4.
Qayyum just about 5 or 6 paces, twirl of the arms, bowls to Lawrence. It's another leg side wide. This is pretty ordinary from Kent. I have to say that Essex were fairly ordinary in the respective wides at the Ageas Bowl, Paul. We have to admit that in the last 3 overs, but we've seen 3 wides from spinners already, which is not good. 69 for 2, and this is a flatter one, and played by Lawrence between point and cover to the sweeper, and they get a single, but not much excuse for so many extra runs being given away in a couple of overs of spin so far from Kent. 70 for 2 in the 8th.
Yes, who were the culprits for the wide?
Well, unfortunately it was Mohammed Amir partly, but Aaron Beard was the one to really suffer, and the over went for 20.
Oh dear.
I think there were 4 or 5 wides. One that might have been signalled and wasn't, because the batsman actually chose to play a shot, but he bowled, I think, at 1.3 wides in 4.
Yes,
and it just unravelled, really.
In a match where both scores were 139, I'm afraid he's a splendid lad, Aaron Beard, but 20 in 1 over, really, that's where the game was lost, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Simon Harmer thought that, with 3 overs to go and about 40 needed, that Essex should have won that game. This is picked up by Delport, hit for 6. This is more like 6 weeks ago now. He's hit a lovely clean strike there between deep square leg and deep mid wicket. They were waiting for that shot, but neither man could move before it had cleared, bisected them for 6 into the grateful supporters. 76 for 2, he's gone to 47. He's looking good tonight. Yep,
he was put down. I just asked David Jackman what the score was when he was put down. In the 20s, I think. We'll find out in
22, right. Here is a reverse sweep from Delport for probably 2. It's going down towards fine leg, and he collects the second run as the throw comes in, but being prepared to play the audacious shot there against Qayyum, following up the 6 with a sort of a reverse hand shot and getting it away nicely for a couple of runs. He didn't quite hit it as he would have wanted to. He's playing it again, but he played it well enough. He's gone to 49.
I certainly think he's played better tonight than when I last saw him, when he played a very rash shot straight away and was straight back in the hutch.
He's got 49 out of a 78 for 2. Essex on top now in the 8th over, and he goes onto the back foot and plays it away for a single out towards deep cover and collects his 50th run. So a 50 for Cameron Delport. He's got the runs from 24 deliveries. He's hit 4 sixes and 3 fours, and just shades of what we saw 6 weeks ago in that first home game against Surrey.
Yeah, very well played, because if you work it out to 50 off 24 deliveries, he's going at fractionally better than 12 runs and over off his own bat.
Here is Qayyum again, going round the wicket, bowling a flat one to Lawrence, who drives away. But this is the combination that did the damage, of course, in that game against Surrey. And this is driven away out towards deep extra cover for a single. Lawrence keeps the strike. He goes to 13. Delport has 50. And Essex at 80 for 2. That's the completion of the 8th over, is it, Paul? I think
yes,
it is. So they haven't ticked that up yet. Latest from Glamorgan, 74 for 1 in the 9th. Sean Marsh and Colin Ingram at the crease. 74 for 1 in the 9th, Glamorgan against Hampshire.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Hampshire don't get Colin Ingram out, he probably won't miss scoring 100 by much, if any. If he ever really is in form, which he hasn't been hitherto in this campaign, Glamorgan haven't won a game, but he's utterly formidable if you don't get him out. It's going to be Daniel Bell-Drummond come in to attack at the river end, but that was a terrific over from an Essex point of view from Qayyum. He was economical in the game down at Canterbury. He's gone for 17 off his first over, and that's very good going for Essex.
So it's going to be the medium pace of the experienced Bell-Drummond, driven away along the ground out towards long off by Lawrence for a single. But this is the combination that did all that damage in that first home game against Surrey. Dan Lawrence was laying down a marker there of what he was due.
And this partnership's already doubled the score. The last wicket fell at 40. Score now at 81 for 2 in the 9th.
It is 81 for 2 in the 9th, having won the toss and chose to bat in a game they have to win. Kent also have to win, but Kent are trying to sort of reverse their recent form, whereas Essex are looking to try and build on it. As here is Delport playing a very delicate and well-placed shot for a one-bounce 4 to a long leg boundary. He sort of waited for that, saw the ball was on middle and leg, and then realised that if he could just hit that wide of short fine leg, he was going to go into the wide open spaces for 4, and this is looking dangerous from a Kent perspective. Delport 54, 85 for 2 in the 9th.
As you say, that was very well played by Delport, because he didn't try to hit it too hard. He just picked the place where it was safe to hit it in the air and picks up a deserved boundary.
So Beryl Drummond bowls a full-length delivery, and Delport tries to crash this one away through the covers, but actually plays and misses. It was well pitched up, and he almost got to it on the full, but in the end didn't actually lay bat on that. And he didn't miss many 6 weeks ago tonight, and that's one of the rare ones he's missed so far tonight. He's on 54, 85 for 2.
Yeah, it'd be good for Essex if these two can really put on a big partnership.
9th over, and Beryl Drummond bowls lofted away. That's a big hit. That's going to go out towards the deep mid-wicket boundary. He'll clear it. Now this is looking a little bit like that match we were talking about in terms of a number of 60s he's hit, because they're starting to mount up already, and he's got plenty of time left. We're only in the 9th over.
Just check with David how many 6s he's hit. Is it 4? 5.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that.
So that's pretty good going this early in the innings.
80. It's now 91 for 2, isn't it, with that shot? It's not been counted yet, but it's hit in the air again, over short third man for 4. That's an outrageous shot, because he's played it late, and he's managed to get it over the head of short third man with seemingly no power. And Lawrence congratulates him, but he's starting to play around a full range of a 360 here, Delport. That was a remarkable stroke, clearing short third man, and he's now gone to 64. The scoreboard to our right just isn't keeping up. 95 for 2 in the 9th.
Well, I'm going to call that the reverse scoop.
Yes.
It was a wonderful finesse shot.
Wow. Here is Beryl Drummond. Kent struggling, that's a full toss, driven away down the ground, going to be caught at long on, he is, he's thrown it away, and in the end the full toss can be a dangerous delivery. It was a full toss on the pads, and he's just driven it straight into the hands of long on. My word, Kent needed that wicket. Not only this match, but their season, in terms of meaningful cricket for the next month, was riding on getting Delport out without too much more damage. They've managed to do so just when he was really threatening. He's gone for 64. Heino Kuhn, a straightforward catch in the end at long on. But what a terrific hand from Delport. Memories of 6 weeks ago tonight, and that great innings against Surrey. He's on his way for 64, and it is 95 for 3 in the 9th.
Yes, very good knock from Delport. Just a shame there, as Nick was saying, sometimes the full toss isn't the easy delivery that people seem to think it is. It can be harder, obviously, to get underneath it properly, and whereas the ball, when it was pitching, he was getting right underneath it and clearing the arena, this time he didn't quite make it. Easy catch, as you say, for Heino Kuhn, but he and Dan Lawrence put on 55 in very quick time for the 3rd wicket. 9 overs have gone, and already Essex going along at 10.5 and over at 95 for 3.
Yes, so we're looking for 190 plus here, I think, at this stage, as Kayan bowls, and here's Tenduscarter playing away along the ground out towards a deep square leg for 1. They think of a second. Tenduscarter batted nicely last night. I thought very unselfishly he sort of ensured and sort of made Bopara have as much of a strike as possible, because Bopara was playing so well. His 2 best knocks have been in London in the T20 this particular term, one at Lords and one at the Oval last night. 95 for 3. Fairly quiet in between, it has to be said. Here is Lawrence just playing away into the offside. Oh, a quick single here, and Lawrence had to react quickly as he saw Tenduscarter bearing down on him, and in the end got safely to the bowler's end and beat the throw, but just for a moment he was wondering what was going on there. 97 for 3.
Yep, Tenduscarter quite right to see the single there. Lawrence a bit slow to set off.
Scoreboard just not keeping up to our right, which is unusual. This is played by Lawrence away for a single out towards deep mid-wicket. 3 fielders converge. There's a thought of a second from Tenduscarter, but after all the excitement with the previous delivery, Lawrence turns him down, and he can't blame him. 98 for 3, and of course Tenduscarter very quick between the wickets indeed.
Yes, certainly. I think we're better off going by the internal scoreboard. We've got a screen inside the box. Yeah, I'm afraid that board away to the right is never up with the tempo.
We haven't got a very good view of the one to our left tonight, as Kayum bowls a flatter one and Lawrence just plays on the bounce. Oh, it's a poor piece of fielding. Kent have not generally fielded well tonight. The ground fielding's been poor. That was more or less straight to backward point. It should have been a dot ball, and in the end it's a single. There is a man in the sweeper position to make sure it's no more than one, but that's not good for Kent. 99 for 3.
Yeah, that's Fred Klassen there with the misfield.
And here is Kayum bowls, and that's played by Lawrence just away into the offside, by Tenduscarter rather, for a single. And the 100 comes up in the 10th over, so that's pretty good from an Essex perspective. They can look to double that. 100 for 3 in the 10th over. Very strong platform as Lawrence drives along the ground for a single. So he has been the star of the show, Lawrence, in the competition this year. Could he potentially get another 50 under his belt? He's gone along here now with that single to 17, and it's 101 for 3 after 10. Glamorgan are 105 for 2 just towards the end of the 11th over, with Colin Ingram at the crease at the moment with David Lloyd. Here, 101 for 3 after 10.
How many's Ingram got?
Going along fairly quietly, 18 off 14 balls.
Oh dear, yes.
Just at the moment.
I'll tell you what though, if he ever gets going, there is a chance that Hampshire could succumb to Glamorgan there, because they've never really put a good score on the board this season, and maybe they might just manage it tonight. Just the 6 singles off that Kayum over, very much better than his opening over, which went for 17. Mitch Claydon returns at the river end and runs up the slight slope and bowls to Dan Lawrence, who will pick up a run down to long on. They'll think about a second, but Bathroo proceeds on it, but Tenduscarter's too quick for him. They get back for 2, and the throw hits the stumps, and Tenduscarter, he's got ants in his pants out there. He's looking to sort of turn 1s into 2s and 2s into 3s, and Lawrence had decided there wouldn't be another run there, but the ball hit the stumps, and if it had just rebounded a little bit further, there might have been an overthrow, but they get 2 good runs, 103 for 3 in 10.1, and here's Claydon again, already into bowl 2. Lawrence, and Lawrence waits for this, and they may well look for another 2 here. Tenduscarter, no, he's signalling to Lawrence there won't be a second here. Good decision as Alex Blake was closing at mid-wicket there, but 1 run more, and that takes Lawrence along to 20 off 16, and Tenduscarter a run of ball 3, and it's Tenduscarter who retakes his guard here. 103 for 3. In fact, it'll be the first time he's faced bowling from the river end. And Mitch Claydon, one veteran bowling to another, up and bowls to Tenduscarter, and Tenduscarter hammers this in very stylish style, but it's still only going to be a single because it's picked out Daniel Bell-Drummond on the cover boundary, and he's got a very good arm on him. So 4 off 4 for the former Essex T20 skipper, still the club captain, and the score moves along to 105 for 3 in the 11th.
Yeah, he's got 3 50s in the campaign. 2 in London. I think the other one might have been at Canterbury, but an innings where he didn't have his best timing.
Claydon again. Bowls to Lawrence and gets a full toss. Hits this a shade ungainly out to deep mid-wicket. They take 1, there wasn't a second. Blake fields, and the score to 106 for 3 still in the 11th over. From an Essex point of view, Nick, it was a shame for them that Delport got out when he did, because he was really beginning to find the boundaries with great regularity. Having said that, he was put down when the score was only 22, so he had a life, as Claydon is on his way again to bowl to Ryan Tenduscarter. And this is nicely run down by Tenduscarter to third man, but 2 fielders converge on the ball, make sure there's only a single there. And this partnership mainly has traded just in singles, 107 for 3.
Yes, Ken just having a couple of better overs back to back, but you feel they're going to need a couple of wickets here, Kent, break this partnership and the next one, because if this combination and Bopara bat through, Essex will have most of 200.
Claydon bowls, and stylishly played here. It's a lovely shot by Dan Lawrence. It won't bring him a boundary, but he should be able to get home safely for a second run here as he glided the ball down to deep backward point. Bell-Drummond again doing good work on the boundary, and he really is a good fieldsman. 109 for 3 in 11 overs, and let's see, off that over they got 8 runs, 109 for 3, and Lawrence goes up to 23.
Yeah, and Essex will be pretty pleased with this. They've got a good platform. They've got, as I say, Bopara still to come. He won't have as much time to play himself in as he had last night, but that's because Essex have lost fewer wickets. But they'll be hoping that they don't need to go beyond these two and Bopara in the batting order. And if that happens, Paul, I'm sure they'll get 200.
Yes, Essex are finishing the competition much better than they started it, aren't they? For me, they didn't look as if they got a plan in the early games.
The arrival of Amir has helped, particularly on the bowling front, because earlier on they were just struggling for options to bowl the closing overs, and particularly Canterbury was a case in point.
But they've looked more like themselves recently as Belgium switches to the Hayes close end bowls, and attempted run down by Tenduscarter fails to locate the ball. It's taken by Ollie Robinson with the gauntlets, and there's no run. 109 for 3 and 11.1.
Yes, interestingly, about halfway through the competition, you wouldn't have put Essex anywhere near one of the 4 best sides in the group, but actually the way they've played recently, they've very much played their best white ball cricket of what's otherwise been a very disappointing white ball season.
Belgium again. Bowls to Tenduscarter, and Tenduscarter's hit this a very long way up in the air, but I think he's going to be caught at long off, and the catch is taken, and Tenduscarter departs for 5, and it went an absolute mile up in the air. Well, perhaps not literally, but getting on that way. If he hadn't got so far underneath it, it would have gone a mile that, but unfortunately he's holed out, and Essex lose their 4th wicket sooner than they'd have wanted to at 109 for 4.
Well, it's Heino Kuhn again. I thought that was a really good catch. It really was. It was up in the air for a very long time. He had to judge it, and in the end he did so to perfection. And you feel from Kent's point of view now, they need to break this next partnership, because this is the one that really could, with Bopara coming in after his form of last night, if these two bats through, they've lost Tenduscarter, but if these two still were to bat through, Essex are going to get a big score. Now the flip side of that, Paul, with 4 wickets down already, is if Kent can get another wicket quickly, the picture might just change a little.
Very much so. It's Belgium who's done the trick for Kent here, with both the 2 recent wickets to go down, and he comes in and bowls to Dan Lawrence, the batsman having crossed while that ball was up in the air. They'd have almost had time to run 2. Single down to Kuhn at long off here by Lawrence, takes him along to 24, the score to 110 for 4. We're in the 12th.
Yep, and just Kent in the last couple of overs just pushing their way back into contention with that wicket, and relatively quiet overs.
Only 1 run off the first 3 balls of this Belgium over. Previous 2 overs having realised 14 runs, which is well below what was happening when Delport was at the crease. Now here is Bopara off the mark with a single. Ball doesn't make a good sound off the bat. He came down late on a ball of Yorkerish length, dug it out. It goes back past the bowler, and Bopara's off the mark. Nelson for 4 on the board, 111 for 4 in the 12th.
Yes, at this stage Ravi's just happy to keep them out, but if he stays for 5 overs, it'll be whether it's 4 or 6.
Yeah, here's Belgium. Bowls again, a lowish full toss to Lawrence, gets a single to long on, 112 for 4, and Lawrence moves along to 25.
Yes, it was a brilliant exhibition from Bopara last night, a beautifully paced innings, and he had the advantage of having 10 odd overs to bat, which I think really helped him.
And he's got that tonight as Belgium's in bowls, and this time he plays the ball straight to mid-off. Sam Billings, the skipper, fields the end of the 12th over. A very good one from a Kent point of view, because there were only 3 runs from the over, the second most economical of the innings, and in it Essex lost their 4th wicket.
And Glamorgan are 129 for 3 in the 13th over. David Lloyd's just got out for 40 from 17 deliveries with 4 sixes and 3 fours. Curiously, Colin Ingram, being starred at the strike, has 19 from 15 balls. He came in before Lloyd, but he's obviously not had a lot of the strike. But Glamorgan are still going along quite nicely. 129 for 3. Remember that Essex need to win this game, and they need Glamorgan to win that one at Cardiff, or at the very least avoid defeat if there was to be a tie. Imran
Qayyum has been switched to the river end and will bowl the 13th over, initially to Dan Lawrence. Saunders up, slow left arm, bowls. Oh goodness me, that's cleaned out Dan Lawrence, and now this is getting serious for Essex. Never mind what's going on at Cardiff, though. We do mind, but Essex need to win this one to have any chance, and that was well bowled from Qayyum, deceived the batsman in the flight, played all round it. Ball just nicks the off bail, and Essex have subsided from a rapacious 95 for 2 at their height to now 112 for 5.
Yes, a couple of things have happened, Paul, haven't they? First of all, the runs have dried up, that torrent of boundaries. The dismissal of Delport has proved to be very significant here. And we talked about the fact that Kent, if they could break a couple of partnerships of obviously the 2 main protagonists from last night, and also get rid of Dan Lawrence, it was going to help them. Now, Paul Walter hasn't sort of produced anything of significance in the competition yet. Did okay in that forlorn situation against Hampshire here a few games ago, but it would be rather nice, with Essex having persisted with him in the side, if he was to be able to deliver with the bat. He is a good hitter. He's got his chance tonight, coming in at number 7 with 7+ overs to go. What can he do, the left-hander?
Well, first ball. Switching to over the wicket, Qayyum bowls. Walter plays it straight into the covers. There's no run. Alex Blake fields. Harmer, Amir, Porter and Zampa are the 4 remaining batsmen to come for Essex. Qayyum in the 13th over bowls. Walter plays it for a single to get him off the mark. Down to long on. The score to 113 for 5. But this is the worst scenario from an Essex point of view. 2 batsmen starting from scratch.
And so important that Ravi Bopara bats through now. That's absolutely critical. You feel that if Kent can get Bopara quickly here, then what looked like being 200 might not be much more than 155, 160 at best. Good point.
Switching to round the wicket to Bopara. Qayyum bowls. Bopara gracefully plays it to long off, just be a single. 114 for 5. Bopara up to 2, but as you rightly said on more than one occasion last night, these days your elder statesmen like Tendulkar and Bopara, they need a bit more time to play themselves in. Qayyum's in, bowls, and Walter plays it straight to Billings at mid-on. There will be no run there. And that means really that although Bopara's got in with a fair few overs left, but he probably needs 2 or 3 more overs to set his sights. And here, nearly caught, but it could be going out towards the extra cover boundary. Fieldsman chases it round just out of our sight. Won't go for 4, but they will get back for 2. And the score to 116 for 5. And Walter moves up to 3. It was a nice force off the back foot, but it was only just out of the grasp of the man inside the circle diving to his left in the covers. So end of the over. 116, I think that should be for 5, with 3-2 Walter.
Yes, we've got options here of watching an advert or a scoreboard, but it's a couple of runs behind. So we had to decide which is the more useful. Probably our scorer, David Chapman, at the back shouting the score is the best option of all. But it is 116 for 5, and there are 7 overs left, and Kent have fought back well.
Belgium, 2 overs, no maidens, 2 for 18, has really turned this around for Kent at the moment. And Bopara plays a cross-batted shot and will pick up a single to long on, where I think he was basically aiming towards long off. And he now moves up to 3, and the score to 117 for 5. Paul Walter, also on 3, will now take guard.
Yes, Walter's not had many innings. Did okay, I'd say, against Hampshire, but that was in the end a pretty hopeless situation. Not many runs apart from that, just bowled the odd over. So a bit of a bit part player, but he's still on the side. He's persisted with him, and can he deliver tonight?
Belgium around the wicket to the left-handed Walter, 6'7" tall, and he's driven this ball very pleasantly. And it's a misfield there, not for the first time. It's Faf du Plessis of all people who's misfielded that at wide mid-off. And he did at least get a hand to the ball initially to stop it going for 4, but nevertheless not what you expect from a man who's normally a brilliant fieldsman. It's 119 for 5. Belgium again, passes umpire Gunnar Gould and bowls to Walter, and Walter's clipped it nicely to long on and Heino Kuhn. They get a single, 120 for 5. Walter up to 6, and we're in the 14th over.
Yes, I see that Colin Ingram's just started to get going at Cardiff, 31 from 19 balls suddenly, so that's a good sign for Glamorgan and probably for Essex as well.
Wouldn't it be galling if Glamorgan do win, but Essex don't?
Well, that could possibly happen.
Belgium over the wicket, bowls to Bopara. Bopara has just hit this out. They might be able to come back for 2 here. He's taken the pace off the ball, but no, as du Plessis races in, keeps it down to a single. The score to 121 for 5. And Bopara moves up to 4.
Yes, if that were to happen, then the winner of Somerset Middlesex would qualify with Sussex, Gloucestershire and Kent.
Essex could do with a boundary here as Belgium bowls. And that's a slower ball. There won't be a boundary. There'll be a single as Walter flicks the ball away to deep backward square leg and takes the score to 122 for 5. And Walter, who's made a good start here, has moved on to 7.
It's remarkable, isn't it, with Essex? We talked about the fact the away form has been pretty impressive generally. Fought well at Lords. Of course, A.B. de Villiers was just too good. It was competitive at Canterbury, but just the last over made a difference.
Belgium bowls. Bopara drives powerfully down to Kuhn at long off, but they'll only get the single. And those boundaries have completely dried up since Delport's departure. 123 for 5. Of course, there is another way of looking at it. It could be one of those games where you look back at it at the end and say what made the difference was Delport's flurry of boundaries earlier on, because there's nothing to say Kent will necessarily find it that easy.
No, it's just proving a little bit more difficult now for Kent, but for Essex, but still got Bopara there. Walter has started okay. It was just ticking by now. 200 might be a little bit beyond them, but if Bopara does stay, and even that's still a possibility.
Qayyum is in, bowls, and this ball is smashed down in the air, down to long on. It's either 4 or 6. It's 4. It's 127 for 5. Bopara moves up to 9.
Yeah, that's the first boundary for a while.
First boundary since the 9th over, that. And they're taking some time to retrieve the ball. I'm not sure why, because it didn't go for 6 or anything. It's out of our sight as to what's happened to it down beneath us, beneath the Tom Pearce stand, but it's reappeared. And Bopara leans on his bat again. 127 for 5, 15th over choosing to bat are Essex. Bopara plays this ball gracefully out into the offside. Class act Ravinder Bopara, who's scored more runs in the last decade in all competitions than all but the world's greatest batsmen. Only 6 men ahead of him, the likes of A.B. de Villiers, Virat Kohli and Sir Alistair Cook. In fact, Bopara may be getting close to Alistair Cook's tally. Here is Qayyum again, bowls. Walter comes down the wicket, but very well fielded to his own bowling by Qayyum, and there's no run. 128 for 5.
Yeah, that was nicely done by Qayyum to save a run there.
Slow left arm over the wicket to the left-handed Walter. And Walter has driven expansively here, and that's going down towards the extra cover boundary, and the cheers will tell you it's gone over it. 132 for 5. Good batting from Paul Walter, who's made a good start here. As Nick was saying, he is a good smiter of the cricket ball. He's got massive scores in the Essex second 11, not yet been able to replicate that in the first team, but he's moved to 11 from 9 deliveries. Bopara has 10. Here comes Qayyum again, late in the 15th over, and that ball's beautifully smashed back past the bowler. Goes down to long off, where it will be cut off, but they get a single. Heino Kuhn beneath us fielding at long off at both ends of the ground, and the score moves along to 133 for 5, with Walter up to 12 and Bopara into strike, and already Qayyum comes around the wicket to bowl to Bopara. Bopara waits for it, strokes it to Bell Drummond on the cover boundary, single, and that will end the Qayyum over. He's now bowled 4 overs, no maiden, 1 for 38, the end of his spell. And Essex are 134 for 5 in 15. Bopara has 11, Walter 12. These two men, Nick, have played themselves in intelligently. And if they can finish as well as they did last night, they could yet get sort of 180.
Well, tell you what, this score at Cardiff now getting quite remarkable, because it's 163 for 3, 1 ball into the 16th over, and Ingram is 44 from 22 balls with 4 sixes. Now, if he stays, they're going to get 215, 220.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Ingram,
we're going to have a problem there.
Ingram, on his day, is a world-class player. I mean, I've seen him get 400s for Glamorgan against Essex, and, you know, that includes 50-over cricket as well as T20, but he is an absolute match winner. If Hampshire don't get him out, I don't think they'll win.
No, so that's going the way of Essex, as all the games did last night. And here is the start of the new over being bowled by Belgium. That's going to be just single out into the onside for Bopara. So now, what can these two do? We've got 5 overs minus 1 ball to go. It's 135 for 5. It was a pretty good 5 overs that for Kent on the whole. but Paul Walter has come in. He's played some nice strokes down the ground. Both batsmen have identically 12 from 10 balls at the moment.
Yes, that just to pick up your point, the last 5 overs only went for 33 runs, and 11 of those came in that most recent over from Qayyum.
135 for 5. I can tell you, just after we mentioned Ingram, he's got out. 44 he's gone for.
Darn it.
163 for 4 at Cardiff. And here, Walter goes on the drive to a good quick delivery, that from Belgium, and he's beaten outside the off stump. Nice piece of bowling, 135 for 5.
And how many overs are left in Cardiff?
So there are 4 overs and 4 balls. They've got 2 relatively new batsmen at the crease, 163 for 4. They should still get 200 or near to it. With 6 wickets in hand.
Great shame Ingram was out.
But whatever happens, Hampshire will have their work cut out. But my word, they made short work of Middlesex with a bat last night. 135 for 5. He's flicked away. Nice looking stroke by Walter. Good placement. Away for 4. This is very encouraging. He's playing nicely along the ground here, Paul Walter. He's barely hitting anything in the air. And that was just a nice piece of play, because the man at the deep square leg, he hit it past mid-wicket, and the deep square leg couldn't quite get round in time. And it's 139 for 5.
Absolute top-class shot that from Paul Walter, and as you say, it's impressive that instead of having a slog, he actually played a really good cricket stroke off the pads to pick up 4.
This is encouraging and backs up the Essex decision to keep him in the side. Here is Walter on the bounce, just going wide of cover and settling for a single out towards deep cover. But a partnership just starting to take shape. Bopara's been quiet so far, but Glamorgan be warned on the evidence of last night. Walter going nicely on 17. It's 140 for 5.
Yes, of course, what will count for plenty in that match in Cardiff is whether the Glamorgan bowlers can get among the Hampshire batsmen. They'll need to take wickets.
It's 140 for 5 in this must-win game for Essex at the end of a T20 group stage. And Bopara plays a Bopara-like shot off the back foot, easy as you like, just in front of square of the onside for 4. It was short, but he put it away with great ease, and that will encourage the Essex crowd that there may be a bit of an onslaught coming up here. Just signal from the umpire there.
Well,
that was a free hit. Not sure. Wasn't the most obvious.
No, I don't think it was.
There was an odd single, that 144 for 5. And here's Bopara just going onto the back foot and looking to hit that through the covers, and he plays and misses. Nice piece of bowling. Maybe the umpire was so pleased with the shot he just carried on signalling the 4 because he was enjoying it so much. 144 for 5 with 4 overs to go. This could be anything from, say, 165 to 190, depending on whether particularly Bopara can stay. And it's 16 Bopara and 17 Walter.
Well, that was a lovely shot, penultimate ball there for 4. Pulled a short pitch delivery and exactly bisected the 2 men out there on the square leg boundary. One just in front, one just behind. Great batting. And I would waste no time in offering Bopara another contract, Nick, and for that matter, Ryan Ten-Descarter, whose captaincy is so brilliant in the championship. Wouldn't want to, when you've lost one of your big 3 elder statesmen this season, James Foster, I wouldn't want to be losing either of the other 2 in any sort of a hurry.
It's going to be the veteran Mitch Clayton to bowl to Paul Walter. Start of a 17th over. Walter plays a nice stroke along the ground again and gets 4 runs. Lovely shot through mid-wicket. He's playing really well here, Paul Walter. It's been a terrific performance so far. Can he carry it on?
Well, this is a bonus for Essex, because Walter is a man, it's not that he's never done any good, but often he only gets in the very late stages, and he's played thoroughly well out there so far. He's got 21 off 14 deliveries without taking risks.
It's 148 for 5. So this is an encouraging partnership. Just when Kent might have thought they were through the key batting. Here's Clayton. Bowls him! Terrific ball from Mitch Clayton. It was a bit of a loose shot, actually, because he'd been playing so effectively along the ground. But he went onto the back foot and was trying to hoik that over mid-wicket. But he was never quite there for the shot. It was a bright and breezy innings from Walter. He's played his part. But it's 148 for 6, and so much depends on Bopara now.
Yes, that's a shame. We were saying how well he was playing, and we weren't lying about it either. He was very impressive, but unfortunately deserted what had served him so well and went for the sort of slog option, and has got out. He's done well, and he'll have been reasonably enough saying, I'm not doing badly here, but I've got to keep the momentum going. Simon Harmer, skipper of the Essex T20 campaign this year for the first time, has made his way out into the middle to join Ravinder Bopara.
Yes, he sort of didn't need to play the big shot there, because with Bopara starting to go at the other end, he could have just played the single, and that would have been a very effective use of resources from the Essex point of view. 148 for 6 in the 17th over, and say Kent will be thinking, get Bopara now, this might still be only 170. And Simon Harmer is out there at the crease. I think Harmer's had a better time of it as captain and actually as a bowler generally in the last 10 days or so than he was earlier in the competition. Here is Claydon bowling to him, and he gets a delivery heading down the leg side, which must have flicked the pad. Now there's a sort of half appeal, I think, but I think it must have flicked the pad. It would have been a wide otherwise. So it's 148 for 6 in the 17th.
Yeah, it went well down leg side, and as you say, it just flicked the thigh pad there. So dot ball, Mitch Claydon, who's in his 3rd over now. It's taken 1 for 20.
And Claydon bowls up to the wicket. And that's just run down with no pace for a single. Good shot from Harmer, because it gets strike the way of Bopara in the 17th over, and rather like last night, Essex could do with Bopara having as much of a strike as possible, and he almost monopolised the strike in the last 2 or 3 overs last night. 148 for 6 in the 17th.
Such an important figure now. Not long to go in this innings. 3 overs after this one. So much does depend for a good score on Ravinder Bopara.
And here is Claydon again, up to the wicket. He bowls flat one, driven away, pull drive, maybe no more than 1, straight out to deep mid wicket. He'd be a touch disappointed with that. Bopara, a lot of effort into the shot, but he's hit it straight to the man in the deep, and the score goes along to 150. They've got there 1 ball short of the end of the 17th over. We're looking for another 30 odd runs from here, I think.
Oh, definitely. This Kent have got a strong batting lineup. It's going to come down to how effective the Essex bowlers prove in terms of getting through the opposition order.
Mitch Claydon again, up to the wicket, bowls, and driven away this time by Harmer for a single. Now that would be the last ball of the over, so I guess in a sense not the ideal scenario for Essex, and not a bad one for Kent that Harmer's kept the strike. But 150 for 6 after 17, and Bopara 17. Only 17 so far. It'd be a lot more if he stays the next 3 overs than 2 to Harmer. 151 for 6.
Yes, that board again not putting the run up in time for us to see it, but it is 151 rather than 150 for 6. 3 overs to go, 18 deliveries. Essex would dearly like to try and score 2 runs a ball from here on, which would give them 186, and so much for that depends on this partnership, and in particular on Ravi Bopara, with Mohammed Amir, who's quite useful with the bat, as he proved in Essex's sensational win in the county championship down at Canterbury 10 days ago, and Amir indeed top scored in Essex's first innings with 28 that day.
So start of a new over at Belgium again, and Harmer plays a nice stroke here away for a single to deep square leg. They're thinking of a second, but the strike will be with Bopara. There was a possibility of a thought of a second, but the fielder got round quickly, and it does give a strike to Bopara. 152 for 6.
I'll tell you what, Bopara ran that first run slowly enough to make sure he was going to be on strike
in fact,
to the
Harmer
next
was
ball.
looking for a
That's
second.
right.
Bopara was still making his way down the end for the first run.
Ravi was having none of it.
How many balls will Bopara face of the last 17? There's a good quiz question. 152 for 6. That's a wide down the leg side, duly called. Actually, they've scampered through for a couple of extra runs because the keeper hasn't gathered it, and that's a very good result for Essex. So they got the wide and the 2 extra runs because it wasn't gathered in. So the score advances by 3 to 155 for 6.
Good work by Qayyum to get round and throw that ball, but he had to throw off balance. The wicketkeeper couldn't take it, and Bopara took a bit of a risk coming back for the second one, but he wants to be on strike, and rightly so.
So some big scores potentially in the South Group tonight. That's a full leg delivery and a legitimate one. Actually quite well executed that from Belgium, and it's sort of landed in the popping crease outside the off stump, and Bopara couldn't do anything with it. And it's a dot ball, 155 for 6 in the 18th. Was well bowled, but overall he's been quite expensive, Villiers. He's 3.2 overs, no maidens, none for 36. Glamorgan are 178 for 4 with 13 balls to go. They could get 200. Somerset certainly will get 200 against Middlesex. They're having a good night at Taunton. This is hit in the air by Bopara, and it's going to be just short of deep extra cover. They come back for a second run. That was one initially what looked like sailing away into the executive boxes for probably a one bounce four, but then it almost seemed to change course and veer in towards the man and the sweeper position on the boundary, who almost managed to get there for a catch. And it's a couple of runs, and it's 157 for 6.
Essex riding their luck a little bit at this point. Of course, they've got to take chances. Risky second run, but Kent fielding hasn't been as good as it might have been.
157 for 6 in the 18th, and Bopara is looking for the drive. He's not quite as fluent as last night. He sort of basically didn't quite get that one. It's just run back down the pitch. It was actually, again, a well-executed delivery up in the block hole, and Bopara couldn't get it away. And Kent will be pleased with the number of dot balls they're bowling at Bopara, which is certainly in contrast to last night. He's got 19 from 16 balls. It's 157 for 6.
Couple of balls left in this over still to come, but despite that 3 runs when Belgium bowled a wide, but he's basically winning this battle in this particular over so far. Now the man on the fine leg boundary, Qayyum, has now been called up to the edge of the circle.
Here is the next delivery, and it's picked up by Bopara and hit away for 6 between deep mid wicket and deep square leg into the public seats and maybe beyond. Tremendous hit. The 6 little banners are being waved by the crowd there who've come into the action. Full house here at Chelmsford. Well, he would have been a bit upset with the odd dot ball there, Bopara. He put that right. That was a terrific hit. A legs ball put away square for 6. 163 for 6, and suddenly he goes to 25.
Well, it's a wonderful shot from Bopara. I'm not sure it was a well-advised shorter ball from Belgium.
He'd actually been doing quite well pitching it up and changing his pace. That wasn't a good one. 163 for 6. Bopara on the drive. Doesn't time it. Possibly 2 going out towards deep mid wicket, but it's only 1. Is there anything to do with the fact we're coming towards the end of the over? Well, maybe it is. And there's 2 overs left. Bopara has kept the strike. I say, on another day that could have been 2 at this stage of the innings, but it's 164 for 6. Bopara has 26. I say, how many of the last 12 balls will he face? Harmer is there on 3, and we've got 2 to go.
Well, bearing in mind there was a wide in that over, Bopara was on strike for 6 of the 7 deliveries, and he's made sure that he ran the run that was taken slowly enough there to make it very clear to Simon Harmer that he would be facing at the start of the next over. A good over from an Essex point of view, 13 runs off it. I'll grant you that at this stage of an innings it's not that big a concession, 13. You wouldn't want to get many fewer than that, but even so it means that Essex are in a decent position at least to get to about 180 here with 12 balls remaining. And of course there's no knowing if Bopara was still to be there at the finish, and he faces most of the balls left as Fred Klassen is coming back to bowl his 4th over, having gone for 21, 2 for 21 off the first 3.
It's 164 for 6, with 12 balls to go. Klassen bowls a full toss, hit away over mid-off, not by far. That will go towards the boundary, but it's going to be gathered in by long off running around, and they keep it down to 2. That one almost into the hands of extra cover, over the fielder's head, long off running around, saving a couple of runs, but the strike stays with Bopara, who is on 28, and it's 166 for 6.
Almost exactly trisected 3 fielders there, Bopara. Beautifully played.
So 11 balls to go, 166 for 6. Bopara on 28, facing up to the left arm seam of Klassen. Again, it's a full leg delivery, driven away to deep mid wicket. There will only be a run there, and that takes the score to 167 for 6. Must mention Somerset. This game, from an Essex point of view, only relevant if it's a tie. I don't think it will be at the way it's going. Somerset are 200 for 3 with 2 overs to go, and young Tom Abel, the captain, is 82 not out from 39 balls with 3 sixes and 10 fours. Banton made 62. The winner qualifies. It's looking like Somerset at the moment. 167 for 6 here. Harmer is on strike as Klassen goes round the wicket and bowls, and that's played away along the ground for probably just the 1 to give Bopara a strike. They're going to go back for the second run. The throw comes in, it's tight, and in the end the throw misses. But they've come back for the second run. Harmer keeps the strike. Bopara getting down the other end with great enthusiasm there, given he's still going to remain a non-striker. He wouldn't have been too pleased if he'd been run out in that sense, but they've got back. Harmer keeps the strike. He's got 5. It's 169 for 6.
The pity was actually 2 balls ago that it would actually have gone past leg stump, and if Bopara had let it go instead of getting a single to mid-wicket, there'd have been a run for the wide and an extra ball.
Here's Klassen again, round the wicket. That's a nicely executed delivery, actually. Harmer will take a single out to deep mid-wicket. And Kento actually, this has been quite a good over. They've tended to keep Bopara away from the strike. They're pretty pleased with the way his first 4 balls have gone. 170 for 6 with 8 balls to go. We've got Bopara on 29, trying to break loose, and Harmer there on 6, a runner ball.
2 balls left of this class and over. It's bowled well so far.
Still blue sky, the floodlights just starting to really take effect. And here is another well-executed delivery. Oh, it's a let down by another appalling piece of fielding. And you do feel sympathy for the bowler. That was a terrific delivery. Very few scoring options there for Bopara. He ran it down to backward point. You just missed it, and it went for 4. Really poor backing up of the bowler there, I'm afraid, from a Kent perspective.
Fortunately for whoever it is, I can't just identify who the culprit was there, but it really was an unforgivably sloppy bit of fielding.
174 for 6. It was a really good ball as well, nicely disguised. Classen bowls to Bopara. That's hit away in the air, down the ground, long on, sees it bounce twice, Heino Kuhn, and well, he's done it again there. He's got a useful single off what turned out to be the last ball of the over. Bopara there on 34 with Harmer on 6. 174 for 6.
175.
175 for 6. Essex getting to a pretty good total. At one point it could have been 200 when Delport was going. It probably won't be now, but they're going to be not that far off if Bopara has a good over here.
And unfortunately for Imran Qayyum, I can now reveal it was he with the missed field, and he's just gone across and apologised to Fred Classen there. 175 for 6, 1 over to go. And I think we have the makings of a very exciting finish. It's been some wonderful games recently.
Recently, Paul, after a very sort of not particularly inspiring tournament in terms of close matches, actually, until the last 10 days or so, I think it's fair to say. Here is the first ball of the final over, hit by Bopara in the air, first bounce to deep mid-wicket. He takes a single. So it's Claydon bowling the final over. That is good for Kent because they've managed to get Bopara off strike from the first delivery. What can Harmer do? He needs to sort of just go a little bit further now than the 6 from 6 if he can find the boundary, or at least give the strike back to Bopara. One of the two I think would suit.
Yeah, Kent have bowled pretty well at Bopara in the last few overs.
They have. 176 for 6. 5 balls to go. Claydon bowls, and this is going to be the single I think that they're looking for. It's going straight to the mid-wicket, no chance for a second. Bopara holds out his hand to Harmer, saying don't bother thinking about a second there, and it's Harmer 7, Bopara 35, and it's 177 for 6.
Well, it's a good contest because Mitch Claydon is a wily old campaigner. He will know exactly what Bopara is trying to do. And let's see who wins this particular battle. 4 balls left.
Glamorgan have gone past 200. 175 for 6 here, and this is well pitched. Oh, beautiful shot. That's going away to deep square leg. It's dropped, and it's gone away to the boundary rope where I think it's just been held in, and they're going to get back for a second run. It actually looked a really good shot, but in fact, Bopara very nearly held out to the man at deep square leg, who promptly dropped it. The umpire is still waiting for confirmation that didn't hit the rope.
Now, it's a fair decision by Belgium, and there he's an honest man, and I could see from here that didn't just touch the rope. I thought it was going to, but Essex will settle for Bopara being dropped there, and he's normally as safe as houses, Belgium.
It hasn't, apart from Heino Kuhn, Kent have been very ordinary in the field this evening. 179 for 6. Bopara, oh, another misfield at short, fine leg. What on earth is going on? They're looking for the second. Well, Bopara is, Harmer wasn't, and they've got back for 2. And, well, Bopara and his keenness to keep the strike, they almost sort of met for a chat there by the stumps, the two batsmen at one point. 181 for a 6.
The reason I'm laughing is Bopara resembles a dad playing with his little boy and just scooting along and gently rolling the bat in as he sort of pinches a second run from out of nowhere. Imran Qayyum slightly jarred his hand as he threw the ball in there. Hasn't had a very happy time in the field, and Essex certainly have profited from at least half a dozen misfields in the last sort of dozen deliveries. 181 for 6, and there are 2 balls left. It's actually been a good over from Mitch Claydon.
Well, 181 for 6, and this is driven away by Bopara down the ground, and that's the best bit of fielding of the night, possibly. Saving a couple of runs, a good throw as well. He gets back for 2.
Another misfield. Wicket-keeper had the chance to run Bopara out and didn't take it cleanly.
Well, remarkable goings on at Cardiff, where Glamorgan are 212 for 4 with 2 balls left, and Chris Wood has got 1 for 67 in 3 overs and 5 balls. He's bowling the last over, and he's going round the park. 216 for 4, Glamorgan, with 1 ball to go. Here it's 183 for 6 on the final over. As Claydon bowls, it's hit away down the ground by Bopara, up towards long on. Is he going to clear the field? 2 fielders waiting, it goes for 6. And that's a great way to end. That's a really positive way to end from an Essex perspective. There's a pretty good last over that in the end. Bopara goes from 41 to 47. And Essex have done in the end pretty well. They had a stutter mid-innings after Delport got out. But Bopara, if not quite to the same extent, 226 for 5 in 20 overs against beleaguered Middlesex, who got rather beaten up by Hampshire last night and looked like they haven't quite recovered tonight. It's going to be very hard work for them.
I think, have they got de Villiers tonight, Middlesex? Because he might just make a difference.
In the end, I mean, I'll have a quick look at that game again, see if they do have him, but that might make a bit of a difference. And of course they had Owen Morgan last night and Mohammed Hafiz, but it didn't necessarily do them any good because Hampshire spinners had a good night last night. Yeah, let's have a look. They've got de Villiers, Owen Morgan and Mohammed Hafiz, so yeah, they could still be in contention, but that's a huge number of runs to get, 227 in 20 overs. And all credit to Gloucestershire, who secured their qualification last night, rather fancied them tonight. They're having the better of it at Hove. Sussex have got nothing to play for. 163 for 8. They've already won the group. They've got the home tie. And Gloucestershire, with David Payne with 3 wickets, having another good night so far. Sussex 163 for 8. Gloucestershire will actually nail down that home tie. Gloucestershire have been remarkable recently, Paul. Essex did beat them. They didn't look a great side that night, but they've won an awful lot of cricket games in the Championship and T20 in recent times.
Yeah, they could be in Division 1 next season. Here comes Mohammed Amir.
Here he comes. Stop first ball, 190 per target. He bowls, and that's just run down by Belgium for a single down to third man. Well, Mohammed Amir had a really good night last night. Bit patchy against Hampshire with the wides that rather cost Essex towards the end. Of course, Beard bowled some as well, but he was right back at his best to close that game out last night, and Essex will be hoping for something similar from him tonight. He might well bowl overs 1, 3, 17 and 19 if it's the same as last night. 190 per target.
Yeah, I mean, Essex can do them. They surely can't field as badly as Kent have tonight.
No.
I don't know what got into Kent, but I don't mean it unkindly, but it was, for the record, one of the worst fielding performances I can remember in a T20 game.
So here is Mohammed Amir, lights taking full effect with the daylight having gone, and misses delivery on the power. Just an appeal for LBW. From the crowd, a few players, as they attempt to just work the ball away into the onside, but in the end, no interest from the umpires. Zach Crawley at the crease with Daniel Bell-Drummond, and he remains on naught. Bell-Drummond 1. They're 1 without loss after 2 balls.
Yes, he's good young player, Zach Crawley. Many people are already identifying him as potentially a man who could fill this problem England have in one of the opening slots.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see what changes, if any, England make for Old Trafford as Amir comes up to the wicket and bowls, and that's again striking the pads. Amir's more interested in that one. He makes an appeal, probably going down the leg side, but he's just beaten Crawley for pace a little bit there. Terrific bowling. It was indeed. And yeah, it's going to be sad with Pakistan coming for a 3-match Test series next year. He's not going to be involved, Paul, because a thought occurs he could also have a stint with Essex to warm up for that Test series. Yes. People playing in it. No, that's right. Certainly, we learned at Canterbury that playing for Essex in that championship game, it was going to be his last red ball game, which seemed a crime, really. Tell you what, it was a good job he probably played in it, as that's driven away down the ground for no run this time. Sam Cook was the star, but just having Amir there to sort of give the Kent batsman no sort of respite at all was also very important, and another good delivery from him there. That was just driven away and there's no run. You're quite right, and of course, as I was saying a few minutes ago, he top scored for Essex, coming in at number 9 with 28. I know it's not a big top score, but without it, instead of trailing by 112 on first innings, they probably have trailed by 150 and would have been completely out of it. And must give a good mention to Adam Wheater, who made a 20 and a 30 not out in that game. He had a great part in the victory. So a very quiet first over being bowled by Amir here. Crawley not able to get him away in the first 3 deliveries he's faced. Faces up again, and yet again just playing it up into the covers, rolls up to cover, and there's no run. And we've seen a run off the first ball and then 4 dot balls, and Mohammed Amir keeping it very much in the right place. And he has made a difference, Mohammed Amir. I think the first game he played was the Hampshire match where Essex barely made more than 100 and he couldn't do much about it. But since then he's played a big part, hasn't he? What began as a hot, sultry evening has turned pretty chilly now, actually. It's clear above. Yes, if you've got a jacket or a sweater down there in the crowd, a good job tonight, I think, as Amir runs up to the wicket, bowls, and Crawley hits it away in the air, but bounces just short of deep square leg, and unfortunately for Lawrence, it, I think, sort of runs away off his knees almost, or top of his knees, and then goes into the boundary. I think he just got done by a bad bounce, because he's a very good ground fielder, and it just reached him on the bounce, and then just an awkward bounce for him, might have just gone away off his body into the rope, and that's just given Kent a little bit to work from for that boundary off the last ball. 5 for no wicket, Crawley 4, Belgium 1.
Still a very good over from Mohammed Amir, but he dropped that last one in a bit short, and it was belted away by Crawley, and it bounced, as you say, right in front of Lawrence, who did his best to get his shins in the way.
Yes.
And almost football style, just let the ball to hit him as a defender might do, but unfortunately it skedaddled away off his shins to the boundary. Lawrence none the worse for that. Amir didn't look very pleased, but I'm afraid it wasn't a very good delivery anyway.
Well, Porter, who had a good night last night, his return to T20 cricket, comes in from the River End and bowls his first ball on the pads. Not the best ball, that, actually. Bell Drummond, it's an easy get-out single for Daniel Bell Drummond, goes to 6. But he had a good night with the ball, Jamie Porter, 4 wickets. At one point, he's on a hat-trick. Mixed night in the field at long off, but then took a catch of his own bowling. But I think he would have enjoyed himself after quite a long lay-off in white ball cricket. Well,
yes, I think he wants to play. You know, I think it was an Essex policy to make sure he was fit for the return of Championship cricket, but I think given his way, he'd have played in a lot of the T20 games.
Particularly when there's only one Championship match in the whole of August. 6 without loss is the score, and this is delivery which is just played up to mid-wicket by Crawley, who's rather struggling to make much of an impact at the moment. He did get that 4 for last ball of Amir's first over, but quite a few dot balls being used up, and that one just played straight to Bopara at mid-wicket, who again made a contribution tonight but could prove important. 6 for no wicket, chasing 190. Kent needing a good start. Interestingly here, Porter is not bowling at his favoured Hayes close end. He's coming up from the River End. Maybe the white ball makes a difference there. 7 men in a ring, saving 1. 4 on the offside. He bowls, driven away. Good shot for 4. Just straight to mid-on. That was a nice stroke by Crawley, who's faced a few dot balls, but that was showing what he can do. He got to the pitch of that, turned it into a half volley, drove it just to the onside of the stumps. Mid-on could do nothing about it. Nice stroke. 10 for no wicket in the second. Beautiful timing from Crawley. Just lent on the ball. All timing there. Lovely shot. And a warning to Essex. Porter coming up to the wicket, bowls, and this time Crawley goes on a pull drive and sends it away past mid-on. Tender Scarter for 4 more. Good stroke again. Wasn't a bit in the slot that from Porter, and batsman able to free his arms and just made sure he hit it wide of Tender Scarter at mid-on with a bit of bottom hand in it, and has got it away for back-to-back boundaries. Good start now for Kent. 14 for no wicket in the second. Yeah, well, neither of the deliveries that have gone for 4 were poor deliveries. It's good batting from Crawley, but you're on a hiding to nothing really in T20 cricket. Batsmen can take the sort of risks they wouldn't dare take if it were a Championship game. Floodlights are taken full effect here in front of this packed crowd as Porter bowls, and that's driven away, just goes through cover, slight misfield. There's going to be 1, no more than that. It was travelling quite quickly, that, but couldn't be stopped at cover in the end. Harmer just running around, just made sure that Wesley's slight error cost no more than 1 run. Had he not got hands on it at all, Wesley, it would have been 4. It was really well timed. 15 for no wicket in the second. Yep, it depends which line you want to take on it. You can say it was a misfield, but you can also say he saved 3 runs. And it got to him very quickly indeed. So good shot again from Crawley. Yeah, starting to play well, Crawley. He's gone to 13. And Porter bowls to Bell Drummond. He played a rather tentative stroke at this and just trying to run it down to third man. He plays and misses the end of the over. 13 to Crawley and 2 to Bell Drummond. 15 for no wicket. Just to say, by the way, that at the top of the North group, Lancashire looking to nail down that top place, and they would then play the 4th place side in the South group. They look like getting it. Leicester 142 for 9. Lancashire 19 for no wicket in the second over. Lancashire having a really good season all round. They certainly are. So that over, 10 runs from it, and I don't think it was a bad over at all. It's what we should expect in this T20 competition. Much for Essex will depend on what inroads they can make into the Kent batting order. So here is Amir, third over. This is hit in the air, just past Delport, completely uncontrolled. Goes for 4. That's a very unconvincing 4 from Crawley. He was basically just pushing that ball back into the offside. It's flown away off an open face, just short of Delport and wide of him. He couldn't stop it. It was really travelling. It was the pace of Amir's delivery that created the pace down to the boundary. That was a fortunate boundary from Crawley. He knew nothing much about that, but he's gone to 17. It's 19 for no wicket.
Yes, absolutely right. Really good delivery from Mohammed Amir, and very much an edge that flew just out of Delport's reach.
Here's Amir again from the Hayes close end, straight approach, bowls, and Crawley gets one on middle and leg. He's able to just work it away past the square leg umpire, and Kent will know with this sort of target of 190. Remember, Kent, it's a really big game for them. Their season depends on this. They won the first 5 games. They've stuttered since, but if they can get to this target, then it really retains the interest. They've done wonderfully well in the championship. They're nice and safe there, but they want something to play for in September. They want to win this game as well. 20 for no wicket.
Yeah, well, they didn't help themselves in the field, that's for sure. I mean, Essex got 189, but I think they might have struggled to get past 150 if the fielding had been up to scratch.
Yes, that's certainly true. And here, this is run down nicely by the experienced Bell Drummond, down to third man for a single. And we have to remember, of course, that Kent won the reverse fixture. What they did was got to get enough runs to put the game beyond Essex's reach. And different sort of pitch, that one at Canterbury. And the last over was very vital, but Kent have shown that they've got the know-how to beat Essex and have a pretty good recent record, actually, in this competition against them.
No, that's right. Essex have had a very poor last 2 or 3 seasons in this competition, and it's a little bit belatedly. They've hit a bit of form this campaign.
Is it too late? We'll find out. Here's a slower bouncer from Zach Crawley, which he's happy to just duck underneath, and that'll be the one for the over, but well executed from Mohammed Amir. So again, Mohammed Amir really, just the value of having him there to bowl 4 of these overs, it just gives Essex so much more cover in terms of their bowling than they had early in the season when they were looking very stretched in that department. Yes,
they didn't have a go-to bowler, whereas that's exactly what Mohammed Amir is. You can bring him back at the end, and with any luck he'll pick you up a couple of wickets and prove economical.
Here he is again in the third over. That's a slightly slow delivery, and Crawley is sort of playing the shot too soon. The ball finally gets to him and he hits it only straight to mid-wicket, and there's no run. It's 21 for no wicket in the third, chasing 190. Both sides needing to win, and Essex needing that game at Cardiff to go their way.
Decent bit of fielding by Tom Wesley there, because that was hit pretty hard. He should have been able to stop it, and indeed he did.
Amir again turns at the end of his run-up. I wonder if he might be back for Essex in T20 next year, maybe while that test series against Pakistan is going on.
Well, I think he likes playing with Essex. He had a short stint a couple of years ago and said there and then he'd like to come back.
Deep mid-wicket's gone right to the edge of the boundary. This is the third over, and this is hit in the air, and that's fortunate from Crawley. He could have holed out to Bopara at cover. He was fortunate not to. Equally, he could have holed out to mid-off Harmer as well. It sort of fell between the two. He's played 2 really full shots in that over, but he's got away with it both times. It might be the luck he needs. He's gone to 18 at the end of that over, about 19 with the single he got there, and but 2 rather fortunate escapes. He got 5 runs from 2 deliveries that he could have been out to on both occasions. 19 to him, 3 to Bell Drummond, 22 for no wicket after 3.
And although I've no doubt the 2 turned down, the 2 LBW appeals turned down were absolutely correct decisions, but if you add that into the mix as well, he has had his moments of fortune out there, even though we're only in the third over. 22 for no wicket, 7 runs from that over. Good recovery after the first ball went for 4. We're going to see Adam Zampa brought on during the power play with his leg breaks from the river end for the 4th over.
Yep, he's bowled during the power play, and he normally bowls his last over around about over 16. And he's done pretty well. Here's Zampa in the 4th over now. Bowls, and there's an appeal for LBW first up, and there's a confident shout here. The umpire's not interested. Tentative push forward from Crawley, who's living dangerously at the moment.
That did look a good shout. I sensed the 2 from Mohammed Amir would have been leg side, but that looked a very good shout.
It's 22 without loss in the 4th. Zampa bowls, and this is picked up. Oh, that's a terrific shot. It's a real mix this from Crawley this innings. That's a beautiful pick up for 6 over wide long on, just away to our right. He got that right out of the screws, and Everyone knew where that was going, not least Paul Walker from a deep mid-wicket boundary. From the moment he hit it, he's gone along to 25, and it's 28 for no wicket.
Yeah, superb shot.
Here is Zampa again. Real mix this from Corley so far, and he comes down the pitch and plays probably a sensible shot after the 6, the sort of little push shot into the onside for a possible 2, but Walter realises the danger of a second run, gets in quickly with long strides and keeps it down to 1. Useful start for Kent now, 29 for no wicket in the 4th.
It's a decent start, but of course we are in the power play.
Here's Zampa again. The towel visible, the white towel. He drives that wide at mid-off. Good looking shot again. That's going to go for 4 runs. That's 4 this time for Daniel Bell Drummond. Getting to the pitch of bats, turning into expensive over this from Zampa, with a 6 for Crawley, followed by a single, and now 4 away wide of mid-off for Bell Drummond, and Kent are moving. 33 for no wicket. Zampa again. Can he just drag it back here? And Bell Drummond works it away into the space. Intelligent batting by Kent. They follow the boundary with a little push away just in front of square on the onside into the gaps on both occasions. And this is a good over for Kent at this stage, with a lot to do. 190 for target, but 34 for no wicket in the 4th is a pretty good start. Here is Zampa again. Bowles worked away through mid-wicket again for a single to Paul Walter. Good over for Kent, and they'll be mighty pleased with that. And how many in the end, David, off that one?
13.
13 runs, so it's 35 for no wicket, and we've got Crawley getting established very well now with those boundaries, with Daniel Bell Drummond, and just a few danger signs for Essex with that very good over for the 2 openers. 35 for no wicket after 4.
Yes, Essex were 32 for 1 in 4. There's not much in it. Kent 35 for no wicket. Ravinder Bopara is brought into the attack for the 5th over from the Hayes close end, and I don't think it's so much the runs that have gone on the board that would worry Essex. They dearly like to get a breakthrough, because I think if Kent are only 2 or 3 down, you know, when we get into the closing stages, I think they'll win all right. I think Essex need to look to be taking sort of minimum 6, hopefully more than that, wickets by the time we get down to the last couple of overs.
This is the 5th over. The target is 190, so a further 155 required in 16 overs, with 10 wickets in hand. Both sides looking to win to try and secure qualification. And here's Bopara bowling to the right-handed Crawley, who pushes up into the offside. Wesley is there but can't prevent the single. He's one of 5 men in the ring saving the single on the offside. Interestingly, the 2 men doing so on the leg side are almost within handshaking distance. We've got a short fine leg and a backward square leg, notably backward of square, and they're saving the one on the leg side. And there's just a field adjustment now. We've got an extra man has gone onto a leg side at mid-on, so we've now got a 4-3 split. So it's a 36 for no wicket, and this is driven away by Bell Drummond for a quick single to mid-off. There might be a shot at the stumps. It's a hit, but I think it's okay, and always was going to be. That was a well-judged single. Harmer had all 3 stumps to aim at. Bit of enjoyment for the crowd, but that was a sharp, well-run single by Bell Drummond. 37 for no wicket.
Good cricket all round. Wonderful throw from Harmer. Arrowed the ball into the stumps, and he couldn't have done more to try and effect the run out. It was well backed up, and 37 for none in the 5th.
So 37 for no wicket, chasing 190. Can Bopara get a breakthrough here? He bowls, and that's picked away off his pads. That's not a good delivery from Bopara. It goes for 4 to the square leg boundary. That was a really straightforward one for Zach Crawley. It was well pitched up on his pads. He just hit it past the square leg umpire. Remember, that man was backward of square in the one saving position, so he couldn't save it, and it's gone for 4, and it's 41 for no wicket.
Yes, it's not an alarming score from an Essex point of view, because there are sides who sort of get 70s and 80s off the power play for 6 overs, but as I say, they haven't managed to break this opening partnership. They've come close. The luck so far is ridden with Kent.
So it's 41 for no wicket, as this is played by Crawley. He's batting rather well now after those early escapes against Amir, and he plays that one along the ground out towards long on for a single. Hampshire latest 43 for 1 in the 5th, with Donald out against his old side for 8. Vince has 30 from 17 balls. North East is in, and Riley Russo is next man in. This is the key part, you feel, of the Hampshire innings, how many Vince, North East and Russo get between them. Remember, their target is huge. It's 217. here at the county ground. It's 41 for no wicket, as this time it's a nice executed delivery from Bopara, just run down off the open face to third man, and there is a single for Belgium. But the openers are still together, 43 without loss, and we are 1 ball short of the end of the 5th over.
Yes, 8 off the over so far, 43 for no wicket, I should say.
Have just joined us. Kent qualify if they win, Essex qualify if they win, and Glamorgan avoid defeat against Hampshire. And they've made a big score, Glamorgan. Here's Bopara bowling. That's on the pads again. It's gone past backward square for 4. Actually, to be honest, the delivery deserved 4. It was a second poor one in the over. He won't be pleased with that. He's sort of scratching his head, Bopara. It went closer to the fielder this time, but eluded and has bisected the 2-1 savers on the leg side for 4 runs. A little bit disappointing that from Bopara. He won't be pleased with that, and Kent on the other hand will be pretty pleased with a profitable first over from Ravi Bopara. So just starting to move along quite nicely now, Kent, with those boundaries, and I think the scoreboard has finally updated itself. It's 47 without loss, 143 required from 15. It's around about 9.5, and here's Paul.
Thank you, Nick. Nick Gledhill and Paul Newton, your team commentating tonight. Our scorer, David Jackman. Dick Davis is in the box as well. Should either of us pass away in the next 3/4 of an hour, as here is Porter in bowls. Edged and caught at mid-wicket. And Essex had their first breakthrough. Bell Drummond on his way as hold out into the hands of the ultra-reliable Ravinder Bopara at mid-wicket, who took a tumbling catch there, 47 for 1 in 5.1. That's exactly what Essex needed.
And Bopara will be saying, well, I bowled over his leg stump half volley, so Bell Drummond could be on strike for the first ball of the next over, and he's duly holed out to me. So there you go. That's worked out. And they needed that, Essex, because well, Kent have got a history, of course, of big opening partnerships on this ground. They once had a partnership of over 200 in a T20 match, and well, they weren't quite threatening to emulate that, but 47 for 1. Bell Drummond's a fine player, didn't quite get going. It's been Zach Crawley to the 4. He's gone for 10, but some good batting in the Kent lineup, and we've got one Faf du Plessis, who got runs last night on his Kent debut, and if he can get another 60 odd tonight, that will be very good from a Kent perspective as they try and make these quarter-finals.
So the South African skipper makes his way out to the middle, and he once got a terrific 100 against Essex in a one-day game up at Old Trafford. It was in an old-fashioned Sunday League game about a decade ago now. 47 for 1. If he repeats his heroics that day, well, Kent will certainly win, but yet to face a ball. Well done to Jamie Porter. In his first match of this T20 campaign, he got 4 for 38 last night. Now has got a wicket tonight. Comes up from the river end. Bowls to Faf du Plessis, who works the ball away for a single to deep square leg Paul Walter. Score to 48 for 1. We're in the 6th over, the last of the power play. The target is 190 for Kent to win.
Yep, nicely poised at the moment with that wicket going down. Very hard to pick a winner at the moment.
Essex finished with that 6 from Bopara off the last ball, Mick. Just wonder if that might be the difference in the final analysis.
Just as his assault in the last 2 or 3 overs against Surrey last night was more than the difference in the end. Porter
again. Bowling to Zach Crawley. Crawley plays this ball down to mid-off. They go for a quick single. If that throw had hit, Harmer was again the fielder. It would have certainly been a lot closer than the one in the previous over. Well, I think the batsman was probably just about making it there.
Yeah.
Score goes to 49 for 1, of which Crawley has an impressive 38.
Yes, generally well judged runs so far from Kent, keeping the scoreboard rotating.
Porter to bowl to Faf du Plessis, underway with the single from the only ball he's faced. Faces Porter again, and he's lofted this ball for 6 over long off. A beautiful pick up from the South African skipper, 55 for 1, and that was a superb pick up. There wasn't a lot wrong with the ball. Goodness me, didn't seem to put anything into it, and it's just soared away. Over long off for 6.
Well, hugely experienced player who'll have been disappointed, of course, with South Africa's World Cup campaign, but is he going to finish his white ball campaign in England this year on a high?
Porter bowls to du Plessis, who's hit this one. This will be 4, and he's hit it back over the bowler's head. sort of premeditated to some extent, took a step down the pitch before the ball had let go of the ball, but picked it up beautifully. 59 for 1. He's up to 11, and if Essex thought that Zach Crawley was the danger man, they might be having second thoughts.
Dare I say, they probably need to get Bathroo du Plessis out sooner rather than later if they're going to win this game.
I think you
that
dare
might be
say
the
it.
Thinking around the ground at the moment. He's
think
made a
you'd be
rather
right.
convincing start.
Porter again. Up and bowls to du Plessis. It's a good ball, actually. It tucks the batsman up. He gets a single as he plays the ball out to Bopara, running to his right from mid-wicket towards square leg. The over ends. A breakthrough, but mixed feelings there for Essex because 13 runs have come off the over, and Kent are 60 for 1 in 6. The end of the power play. They need a further 130 in 14 overs.
Yeah, so just over 9 wickets in hand. The longer Kent can keep it around 9s and 10s with 8-9 wickets in hand, then the stronger their position becomes in the game. So that was a useful over, and you can just sense that so much of the game depends on what happens in the next few overs, Paul, with the arrival of du Plessis at the crease.
Cameron Delport, who bowled a couple of overs down at Hove last week, is going to bowl the 7th over of the innings from the Hayes close end, and du Plessis to face, and that ball comes off the bottom of the bat. A minor triumph for the Essex bowler there, Cameron Delport, because he was a little bit deceived by a ball that was floated up by Delport, who bowls at very slow medium, and it spilt out off the bottom of the bat down to short fine leg and scores 61 for 1 in the 7th. Delport will bowl to Zach Crawley. Crawley, it's either bat or pad on that. We'll just wait and see if there is a signal. There's probably a bit of both. At all events, it's a run to the batsman. 39 now to Crawley, 62 for 1 in the 7th.
Well, we said that the only possible result at Taunton that might be of interest to Essex is a tie.
It's looking that way, is it?
226 for 5.
Come back to that, but here's Delport bowls. The ball's just run down to backward point, and they can virtually take a single for anything here, and score goes to 63 for 1 in the 7th.
It's fair to say Middlesex have made a spirited response. They're 82 for 2 in the 5th over. And David Ballant's made 40. He is out, 41 off 14 balls. De Villiers is in. He's just in with 11, but that game is wide open.
Delport bowls, quicker delivery, played out to long on. Dan Lawrence closes on the ball, the score to 63 for 1 with du Plessis. In fact, that was Crawley who hit that, moves up to 40, 64 for 1.
The most important game away from this one, of course, is the one at Cardiff, where the power play is over for Hampshire. 66 for 1 after 6, and Vince is 43 from 25 balls, chasing 217.
Delport bowls to du Plessis, hit it back in the air, past the bowl, down to long off, and gets a single. He moves along to 15, and the score will go up to 65 for 1, coming toward the end of the 7th over. In fact, there's been a single off all 5 balls of this over from Delport, which isn't bad going, bowling to this pair. No,
and that last ball looked so innocuous, the batsman appeared to be taken by surprise, going to get a run off it.
Delport to complete the over. Bowls, and that ball's been smashed away towards long on, and indeed has gone over the boundary. For a moment I thought Tenduscarter might be able to get round to stop it. He can't, and the score goes up to 69 for 1. 9 runs off the over. Not a bad over at all from Delport. 69 for 1 in 7, but Kent are going well here.
Yeah, this is the point we were saying, Paul. The longer they can stay Kent with the sort of required rate around about this sort of rate of around about 9s, which is where it is at the moment. 121 required off 13, it's just over 9s. If they're still there with 8-9 wickets in hand in 4 overs time, then Essex have got real problems. I think they need a wicket. I think they really need a wicket here. I think they're in a spot of bother. These two, at the moment, if they carry on like this for the next 3 or 4 overs, Kent are going to be right in the box seat.
No, you're right. I mean, Essex went from 2 down to 5 down in the middle of their innings. When they were 2 down, they're going really well with Delport, but once he was out, those wickets tumbles, and it took a late recovery to get Essex up to 189. Now here's a high full toss from Harmer, just a slight question mark as to whether the square leg umpire might rule that was above waist height. I don't think he has signalled anything there, so they get one run out to deep mid-wicket Paul Walter, and the score goes to 70 for 1 after 7.1. Harmer's come into the attack, and that's a poor delivery and smashed away for 4. One bounce from the blade of Zach Crawley, and that was an absolute gimme, I'm afraid, from the Essex skipper there, and that takes Crawley along to 48 out of 74 for 1. Harmer bowls again to Crawley, another full toss. This has been hit down the ground. It may or may not be prevented from going for 4, and there's no, it is 4 runs, and I thought for a moment the applause in front of us was for a good start, but there are Kent supporters here, and why not? And it's 74 for 1.
One chap in front of us is still applauding. He's got his hands above his head there, and about 3 or 4 rows in front of us, and he very much enjoyed that, and rightly so at the moment from Kent's perspective.
Very good 50 for Crawley. 52 out of 78 for 1 it is. Apologies, it's a little bit difficult reading the boards at the moment. As the throw comes in, single down to long on, 79 for 1. The ball away to our right is so slow that sometimes the runs from the previous ball have still not been put up when the next ball's bowled. As Harmer bowls another full toss, 6 more, and that will take the score along to 85 for 1. And I'm afraid this hasn't been a good over from Harmer at all. He's bowled one half tracker that was belted for 4, and at least 3 full tosses.
Yeah, and generally I think he's not had too bad a campaign. He's been going at 9 and over, but he still had these occasional very expensive over or 2 sort of spells, and this is one of them, and it's coming at the wrong time.
1-4-4-1-6 in this over so far. Here's the last ball. Good strong wrists here from Du Plessis, works the ball away to Walter coming in from the square leg boundary. They get a single, so that means that off that over 18 runs came, and the score finishes at 86 for 1. Correction, 17 came off that over.
And they've knocked the asking rate down below 9s, and with 9 wickets in hand and 12 overs left, Kent are now favourites in this game to win and qualify, and Essex have got to do something about this. These two have got Essex where they want them, and someone needs to come up with a little bit of inspiration. They've beaten the rate required comfortably. When you're chasing less than 9s with 9 wickets in hand and just 12 overs, you're going to expect to win. Kent really have got a great chance here, and Essex need to try and change this round quickly.
Bopara back on at the Hayes close end, and he can be a magical bowler. He had a wonderful spell against Somerset here when all the other Essex bowlers were hit till Kingdom Come, and he got 3 for 18 in his 4. Began with a relatively expensive over here, but here he is now trying to make amends, bowling initially to Faf Du Plessis, and this ball is worked through the offside but straight to Paul Walter on the cover boundary. The score goes to 87 for 1, and Du Plessis up to 24.
At the moment, the news that Vince is out at Cardiff for 43 is perhaps a less relevant factor to what's going on here, because of course Essex have got to win this game for that Hampshire match to become relevant, and at the moment Kent are firm favourites.
They certainly are. I mean, Essex have really got to get among the wickets, and fairly quickly at that. Bopara, Hayes close end, bowls to Crawley. Crawley for once doesn't time the ball at all. He's looking to flay it through the offside, and the ball apologetically makes its way down to long on very slowly.
Trying to think of all-time great power plays, Paul. Middlesex have got 1 ball left in the power play. They're 93 for 2. That's pretty good, isn't it? It
is, yes. I mean, they may win that game. And the score here has gone up to 88 for 1.
One of the greatest chasers in T20 domestically, like the Luke Wright game.
Bopara bowls. Du Plessis, it's a wide. He was looking to work it into the onside, missed it. Sadly for Essex, Du Plessis hadn't left his ground. Wheater was very quickly on the case there. Had he left his ground to whip the bails off, but could see that there was no point doing so. Bopara again, 89 for 1 on the board in the 8th. Bowls, and this ball's just turned round the corner. Get a single to Du Plessis, and this is the 9th over. And it is 90 for 1 with 54 to Crawley, 25 to Duplessis.
Yeah, Middlesex 94 for 2 off the power play, need 133 in 14 overs. Winner goes through in that one.
Bopara, 190 the target. We're in the 9th over, and this one is run down to short third man. It's not fielded cleanly by Adam Zampa, but nevertheless they were always going to get the 1 run that they have to settle for. That goes to the credit of Zach Crawley, who has 55 from only 31 deliveries, and Duplessis has an even faster scoring rate of 208.3, 25 off 12. Now faces Bopara. Last ball of the over. And a play and a miss there. And that's a dot ball as Wicket whips the bails off. And there is no run. And it's a very, very rare dot ball in this partnership.
Yes, and Essex need those, but I think they do desperately need a wicket as well. Really need to break this partnership now.
That's the first dot ball in the partnership, David Jackman tells me. There is one more ball, and Bopara bowls it, and this will only produce a single. That's a good over from Bopara, and the score goes up to 92 for 1 at the end of 9 overs, with Crawley on 55, Duplessis on 26, and the partnership now is approaching 50. And really Essex need to break it very quickly.
That was a decent over, Paul, but bearing in mind what happened in the over before it, 98 off 11, 9 wickets in hand, you're always going to say the batting side is firm favourite on a decent Chelmsford pitch. So something has got to happen here for Essex. There might even be a case for bringing Mohammed Amir back and just changing the game plan, but he's got 2 overs to go. It's going to be Adam Zampa to continue for now.
With his leg spin from the river end on this lovely floodlit scene here on what's becoming an increasingly chilly evening. Comes in, past umpire Baldwin, bowls, and that ball is hammered down to long off, be a single down to Bopara, scored to 93 for 1, and Duplessis to 27.
At the moment, that little period in the Essex innings, after Delport got out, where they just stuttered for 3 or 4 overs, is just starting to hurt them a little bit.
Very much so. In the 10th over, target 190. Zampa bowls, and that's a leave outside off stump. And the second dot ball of this partnership, which so far has put on 46 runs, 93 for 1 in 9.2. Zampa bowling to Zach Crawley, and he's hit this down to long on, at least 1 run. They'll think about a second, but not with Tenduscarter on the ball, albeit he doesn't actually pick it up cleanly, but he got there quickly enough to make sure they weren't going to take a second. First wicket put on 47, second wicket's put on 47. Kenton 94 for 1, and we're halfway through the 10th over.
Just 2 runs off it so far.
Zampa bowling to Faf Duplessis, who's hit this ball firmly into the onside. Dan Lawrence on the mid-wicket boundary keeps it down to a single. 95 for 1 in 9.4, target 190. Duplessis up to 28.
Fair to say, Kent looked like winning last night with Duplessis, and they needed only 36 off the last 4 overs with loads of wickets in hand and didn't get them, so they might be thinking about that later.
Zampa bowls, and this ball is played defensively into the covers, but they get a single to Simon Harmer and score to 95 for 1. Just been 4 singles off this excellent over to date, but will a boundary come off the last ball as Zampa is in to bowl to Duplessis, and cross-batted slog at this produces a single to Dan Lawrence, who's about 10 to 15 yards up from the mid-wicket boundary. Applause for a good over that from Zampa, and the partnership is now worth exactly 50, 97 for 1 in 10 overs. So halfway through, Kent's reply to Essex is 189 for 6. They are seemingly in a very good position at 97 for 1.
At least still all to play for, albeit Kent are in charge, and how important it was from an Essex perspective that Gloucestershire won last night to beat Kent, because certainly Gloucestershire always fancied them today at Hove, and they're winning that game easily. Michael Klinger 41 not out, 85 for 2, just 79 needed from 10 overs and 1 ball. So had Gloucestershire lost last night, they would have, with a win tonight, which is looking likely, that would have taken it out of the reach of Essex. Essex need to do something here. 97 for 1, 10 overs to go, and here's Bopara bowling, and that's just played away into the offside for a single. Just rotating the strike, these two, nice and comfortably. Du Plessis is showing all his experience out there. Takes another run. It's gone along now to 30, 98 for 1. Essex urgently needing a wicket. They're just over halfway to their target of 190 and just on halfway through the overs, and this is a pull drive, not timed, doesn't matter. Crawley gets a single out towards long on, and the longer these two carry on batting at this sort of pace, even if they don't get to the run rate every over, the more difficult it gets to Essex with wickets in hand. The one proviso, Kent messed up last night when they were in a pretty good position against Gloucestershire. Will the same happen? 99 for 1. Getting pretty cool now.
Very much so.
11th over, target 190, 99 for 1, and here this is played, just flicked round the corner by Du Plessis. They're interested in 2, deep backward square leg coming in, prevents the second run, and again many singles in this over. Good reaction from Porter to save the second there, but the 100 up, and the Kent crowd supporters here, and there are a few down in front of us enjoying it. Big match for Kent. They know if they win, then they'll finish in third place, and they will be in the quarter-finals. Here is a drive without timing on the bounce back to Bopara, and there's no run.
Yep.
Crowd catch, 100 for 1.
Very interesting to know, in the last 3 overs there's only been singles.
Yeah.
And they're deliberately getting them. Is this a change of policy, or is it just that the bowling has been so much on a better length than previously?
Well, certainly Essex aren't giving much away at the moment. 100 for 1. This is pretty well executed by Crawley, probably for just 2. Going down towards long leg. There should be a second run. They've come back on the throw from Porter, and in the end they get there. It could have been worse, that Bopara. It was rather on leg stump, sort of swept away, but at least it was picked up, and what could have been 4 is only 2. 102 for 1, chasing 190. We're in the 11th, but Essex desperately need a couple of wickets now. Here is Bopara again, bowling from the Hayes close end. No timing here, as that is clubbed back down the ground by Crawley, who remains on 60 from 38. Du Plessis has 31, but the partnership is still in tandem. 102 for 1. They require 88 from 9. And just the asking rate, just pushing up back toward 10s, but Kent won't be too worried with 9 wickets in hand.
Yeah, that's the big point, the wickets in hand. Terrific bowling from Bopara again. That last ball is the one he bowls out of the back of his hand, and it totally flummoxed Crawley. So there were 2 dot balls in that over, and elsewhere 2 and 3 singles, just the 5 runs from it. And in the last 3 overs, Essex really have brought back the scoring rate down to 5s and 6s and over.
Zampa, number 18 off 2, comes into bowl, driven away down, full toss again, driven away down the ground for a single to Tender Scarter at long on, 103 for 1. So now a further 87 runs required, and we're 1 ball into this 12th over. Darkness has long since taken effect. Pitch black here at the county ground. This is lofted away towards us, over our commentary box for 6. Wonderful pick-up hit, that. Beautiful clean strike from Zach Crawley. Now, he did have a couple of escapes early on with completely full shots against Mohammed Amir. We thought at the time that might be the luck he's needed. He's played really well since. He's gone to 66, and that's punishing for Essex. They have a couple of quiet overs, but a 6 like this with 9 wickets in hand, that's really, really big for Kent.
Monster blow, right over, actually right at us, but over our head in the box here, and down probably into the river. Maybe not quite, because the ball has been retrieved. In fact, balls are raining in across the ground from all directions, and just being shown to the umpire, who will decide which of the deliveries, which of the balls was the right one. Everybody seems to be happy, and Zampa will bowl again to Crawley.
81 required from 52 balls. Here is Zampa bowling a flatter one, and after the 6, a sensible shot just played away by Crawley for a single out towards deep mid wicket. They've done that very well, Kent, often following up their bigger shots with just pushes into the onside. 4 singles to rotate the strike. 110 for 1, 8 from the first 3 balls of this over, so they're close to the asking rate already. They need a further 81. We're in the 12th over. This is on off stump, but hit away in the air and straight to cover. Bopara takes the catch, and is that the breakthrough that Essex desperately needed? It was a bit of a wicket to nothing. It wasn't a great ball at all, but it was hit firmly away off the back foot and straight into the hands of cover, and 110 for 2, giving Essex a little bit of a lifeline when it looked as though it might be all up for them. But that particular delivery from Du Plessis will be really annoyed with himself, because it wasn't a great ball. He hit it hard, but Bopara just makes catches look very easy. And just when Essex desperately needed a wicket, they've got one. We need another one quickly, mind you. 110 for 2 and the 12, 80 required. The end of Du Plessis for 32 and Crawley 67.
Yeah, it's going to be the captain, Sam Billings, coming out, and he's a very, very aggressive batsman. Billings, who of course has played for England, and at one point looked as if he'd be an institution in the side for some time to come. Lost his way a little bit on the international front, but a formidable opponent to be sure. Bopara just nonchalantly takes the catch, and whereas some people like to kid the crowd, what's called a crowd catch, that something that isn't a catch is one, Bopara does the opposite. He turns away, almost shoves the ball straight in his pocket, and says, "Where's it gone?" You know, he's an impish fellow, Bopara. You may rather gather that I rate him very highly, and it's for the very good reason. He is a most tremendous cricketer and a wonderful tribute to the quality of the Essex Academy here, as are the likes of Alistair Cook and many others.
Can Essex get another wicket quickly? Zampa bowls to Billings. Oh my word, that almost got through him, and he's managed to sort of get that away into the onside, but Zampa there has got hands on head, thinking that was very nearly through. It's come off the inside sort of half of the bat and run down towards Amir at short fine leg, and they've got a single. That was almost 2 in 2. It's 111 for 2.
You're quite right, and this game would change if Zampa could now get rid of Crawley, the other member of the big partnership.
Here is Zampa again. Bowls to Crawley, and Crawley works it away again into the onside for a deep mid-wicket out to Dan Lawrence. So a much better second half of the over for Essex than the first half. 8 runs from the first 3 balls, just 2 from the last 3, plus a wicket. So they've more or less got what they needed from the over, Kent, but they did lose a wicket. 112 for 2, 78 required off a further 8. So again, they've still got it under 10 with 8 wickets in hand. They're still favourites, but Essex have got a wicket.
Well, Kent are 112 for 2 in 12 overs. Essex were 112 for 4 in 12 overs. So you can see the difference there. Essex had lost 2 more wickets, but run-wise, they're exactly level. And certainly that's a very important blow from Zampa. As you say, it was nowhere like his best delivery, but it's the one that took the wicket.
So this is the start now of the 13th over, and it's being first delivery from Delport is played away out towards deep mid-wicket. So Delport back into the attack. Sometimes he just bowls the 1 over. There's a single there from that first ball. Generally was pretty economical in his earlier over, which went for 9. I think it was a boundary off the last ball, if I remember, of his previous over. But he's been entrusted with this over now from the Hayes close end. Very much military medium. Yes,
what would really change this game, as I was saying, they've lost Du Plessis. If they now lost Crawley, they'd have 2 new batsmen starting from scratch.
113 for 2, 1 ball into the 13th. This is played by Billings down to backward point. He's got no pace to work with Delport, so he just has to angle the bat and just hit it wide of the fielder and get through for a single. And Crawley's there on 69. Billings has gone to 2 with that shot. So a couple of runs from the first 2 balls here. 114 for 2, 76 required from 7 overs and 4 balls. Here is a stroke, attempted stroke from a ball that never quite gets to Crawley. He tries to pull it away through mid-wicket, but he's through with a shot before the ball arrives. Nice disguise from Delport. He's certainly got something about him as a bowler. Looks innocuous, but is doing quite a tidy job here.
To come for Kent, Heino, Kuhn, Alex Blake, Ollie Robinson, the next 3.
Yeah, there are 3 dangerous players there. 114 for 2, and Crawley has lost his timing a little bit at the moment. Reaches for that, hits it to deep mid-wicket, gets the 3rd single plus a dot ball from the over. It's a good over this from Delport, and the score goes along to 115 for 2, and we're in the 13th, target 190.
Yes, it's difficult to time Delport because the ball doesn't arrive as soon as you think it's going to.
Here's Delport again, who batted nicely earlier on from the Hayes close end. Bowls to Billings, who works it away past the square leg umpire. Possible 2 here. Deep square leg running in, can't prevent the second, and they get back for 2. I think it's Porter out there, but no little chance that running round of stopping that from being a 2. They've got the first 2 of the over, and it's 117 for 2. Target 190. We're in the 13th over. The 8 wickets in hand are what's going to help Kent. But in the end, the wickets in hand, of course, didn't win them the game last night. 117 for 2, pulled away past the square leg umpire again, this time closer to the fielder, and therefore just going to be the 1 run on this occasion at deep square leg. And Porter this time made sure there was no chance of a second, did well. So that's the end of the 13th over, and Well, it's very nicely balanced, this indeed. But Kent, you feel, with 8 wickets in hand, are favourites. But Essex have just shown signs of fighting back in the last few minutes, with 70 on the board now for Crawley. Essex have got to get him out, of course, and 5 there for Billings. 118 for 2, 72 required from a further 7.
Good over that from Cameron Delport, just the 6 runs from it. So 72 off 7.
Over 10 and over for the first time. That was the value of Delport's over there. He's just pushed the asking rate over 10s. But still, with 8 wickets in hand, you back the batting side. They're certainly favourites, Ken. Now, Harmer, can he bowl a better second over? This one played away off the back foot, hits it away through extra cover. It's going out towards the boundary, and I think there's a couple of runs there in the end. I think that's just been stopped out of our sight. There's a little blind spot there we can't see, but it is only 2 for Billings. But Harmer needs to bowl a better over here after a rather an expensive one. And 120 for 2 with 70 required. He's just lost his run up a little bit there, Harmer. So yes, 120 for 2.
He just hasn't bowled as well as he can so far tonight.
Harmer from the river end bowls, flatter one, hit away in the air, could be caught, but he hasn't got it. Going to be caught at deep mid wicket, I think, and it's held. And it's that's a terrific judged catch in the end from Dan Lawrence, because he had to wait a long time for the ball to come down. But now Essex have got a couple of breakthroughs here in quick succession, and they're right back in the game. So 120 for 3. That one just getting too far underneath it and holding out to Dan Lawrence, who took the catch nice and comfortably. The end of Billings for 7. So you feel at this stage that Crawley becoming more and more important, but Essex have got a couple of wickets quickly. It's 120 for 3 in the 14th, with Billings out for 7 and Crawley on 70.
Well, one thought that occurs to me, I was saying earlier that I've seldom seen a poorer fielding performance than Kent put in, and you could be forgiven for thinking they'd a bit of a fit of the jitters in the field. The interesting thing is going to be whether they promptly now have a fit of the jitters with the bat, because if they do, they could yet be in trouble, particularly if Essex can get rid of this man, Zach Crawley.
So it's now Crawley on strike to Harmer, and this one's gone down the leg side, possibly just off the pad for a single, but this is already turning into a more effective over from Harmer than its predecessor. Hampshire, well, they're going along okay, but I think they're a bit behind what they need. 102 for 2, 1 ball into the 12th over, still needing 115 from just over 8 overs. North East and Russo together, it all depends on them, particularly Russo. But here, 121 for 3 in the 14th over. Harmer bowls, and that's hit away just down towards backward point. Not much power on that stroke. It was well disguised that by Harmer, just tramping the batsman for room a little bit. Hino Coombe from his first delivery can only take a single, and the score's gone to 122 for 3. Much better over this from Harmer. Bowls again, and this time Crawley will drive and through the mid-off gap and will collect another single. They'll look for a possible second run here, maybe a slight misfield out of our sight. The throw comes in to the keeper's end and misses, and they'll settle for 2. Initially the throw came to the bowler's end, but the greater interest was at the keeper's end, and in the end the throw threatening to run out Crawley, but it missed from Harmer, and it might have been back anyway. 124 for 2, 124 for 3.
Yeah, I agree. I think he was home actually there, even if the throw had hit.
So 124 for 3, but a much better over this from Harmer. And the asking rate's being pushed up a little bit here. It's gone up to 10.7. It's been going up in the last couple of overs. Harmer bowls, and on the sweep, this is past short fine leg. There's going to be at least 2. It's being chased round by long leg. It stops. They've got 2. They come back. Not going to come back for the third. That's a very good bit of work right out there in the distance to save a couple of runs. That's 126 for 3. And we've got Hino Coombe there on 1, and Zach Crawley on that scoreboard again hasn't been updated.
No, it's
74.
Yeah.
74 now for Crawley. 126 for 3. 64 required off 6 at 10.6. And it's just evened up a bit in the last couple of overs.
Yes, Essex have fought back well. Great bit of fielding there by Paul Walters, sprinting round the backward square leg boundary. Did really well to prevent that going for 4. Not had a bad match here, Paul Walter. 126 for 3, 64 off 6. Well, they should get it with these wickets in hand, but I'm not entirely convinced they will.
And it is still going to be Delport, interestingly, who bowls, and this is driven by Hino Coombe for 1 out towards Walter at deep cover. So interesting here, but he's bowling more overs than perhaps he hitherto has tended to. So we'll see Amir bowl 17 and 19. That's an important point. If Kent start to get seriously below the asking rate, he's only gone for 12 in his first 2. This is Delport bowling his third, 15 from the first 2. This one attempted sweep, but no real contact here from Crawley. It's just not quite had the timing previously. That one only off the pad, goes to short fine leg for a single. It's 128 for 3, just 2 from the first 2 deliveries here from Delport. And
worth pointing out that after this, of the 5 remaining overs, Porter and Amir can each bowl 2 more. So that could be useful.
128 for 3, Delport bowls, and Heino Kuhn only can hit straight back to the bowler. And Essex have got back into this game really nicely in the last 3 overs. Kent were winning it at one point, but just a sign here that Kent are being put under pressure. And Delport with just 2 runs from the first 3 deliveries of this over at 128 for 3, target 190. Bowls a full length delivery. Heino Kuhn hits it out towards long off, and it just goes over the fielder's head for 6. That could be a big moment. He didn't quite get that shot, Heino Kuhn, and it was precious close to long off, but it's just gone over the fielder's head, and he's got a 6 where he could have been out. It's 134 for 3, he goes to 8. Delport bowls again to Heino Kuhn, who this time waits for it and plays a nice stroke off the back foot for only a single this occasion out to water at deep cover. But he was close to holding out to long off. I think it's Tenduscarter right out there, and very close to holding off just a few moments ago.
I think it's Harmer.
Is it Harmer? Very, very hard to work it out.
Yeah, he couldn't have done anything about it. It was over his head. But as you say, it's a bit it could easily have been a catch.
135 for 3, 56 required, and this one hit by Crawley away for a single just wide of long on. So that was a really important boundary, if an element of risk for Heino Kuhn, because without it, it would have been a really quiet over. As it is, there's 55 required from 5 at 11s. With 7 wickets in hand, you still back Kent. But now, if Essex could grab a wicket or 2 with 2 overs from Mohammed Amir to come, they're still very much in it. This is going to be another good finish. We've had several of them in the last 10 days. 135 for 3, 55 required from the last 5, with 9 on the board to Heino Kuhn and 74 to Zach Crawley.
Thank you, Nick. Paul Newton here with Nick Ledhill, our scorer David Jackman, and our good friends Ben Watts and Matt Cole covering the game for BBC Radio Kent. Nick and myself, of course, for BBC Essex, 765 medium wave and online. And here comes Adam Zampa. Bowl short. This ball's been hit in the air, but it could be a catch, it could be 6. Dan Lawrence tries to get under it, can't do so, and it's a 6, and rather likely 6 in the previous over. It was touch and go. Would it just have the legs to go over the boundary, or would the fieldsman be able to clutch it? Well, Lawrence did his best, but the ball was just out of his reach, and the score goes to 142 for 3 in 15.1, and Crawley moves on by another 6, and the next delivery has an almighty swipe at this. Is very fortunate it didn't clean him out as Wheater whips the bails off, but he hadn't left his ground. Crawley has 81 off 51 deliveries and Kuhn 9 off 5. Kent with those 2 6s or once more very much the strong favourites here, but could yet be a good finish. Zampa bowls, and this ball's hit for at least 1 run down to long on. There's Tenduscarter. They're coming back for the second. Tenduscarter throws to the wicket-keeper's end, and batsman home. Wheater doesn't even bother taking the bails off. Crawley's safely made it into his ground. He's got a superb 83 off 52 deliveries. 144 for 3, another 46 unneeded.
27 balls.
27 balls.
Yep.
It's all about wickets.
Good second run, that.
Yep. Essex desperately need a wicket, and this ball, I think it's going to be 6 more. It's going to clear the fielder at long off, and it's another 6, and these 6s are mounting up now. 150 for 3, and of course the big difference is that Essex had lost 5 wickets at this stage and were soon to lose a 6, and Kent have got 7 wickets in hand. 150 for 3, 4 balls into the 16th.
Yep. 40 off 26, big over for Kent at the moment.
Zampa bowls again. Oh, and a bit of a attempted slog here. It's a dot ball, a precious dot ball for Essex. He has bowled pretty well, Adam Zampa, but even so, he's gone for 42 in 3.4.
Important this isn't another boundary.
3.5, I think that should be. Yes,
yep,
it is. Last ball of this 16th over. Zampa bowls. Oh, and this has gone a long way up in the air. Now this should be a catch. It's coming down to long off, but it's taken. And it's Simon Harmer. has got the catch there, and Zach Crawley's magnificent innings ends. Is it in time from an Essex point of view, or is it just too late? He's gone for a brilliant 89.
Well, a big moment that. We were just saying that they couldn't afford another boundary. I think Crawley was thinking along the lines of, if I do get another boundary here, then really we are coasting in the last 4 overs. But he's got out at a crucial time, and again, what was turning into a bad over from Zampa from the Essex point of view has just recovered a bit with a wicket at the end. It means at 150 for 4, there are now a further 40 runs required, and we're down to the last 4 overs. So it's 10 and over, 24 deliveries. Remember that Essex need to win this game and hope that Glamorgan beat Hampshire. The odds are firmly that they will, because Riley Russo is out for 24. Hampshire are 122 for 3, needing 95 from just 6.5 overs. They're going to struggle to get that, even though North East is 40 not out. Surely that is Glamorgan's game. So it's back with Essex now to try and win this game and get themselves into the most unlikely of quarter-finals.
Well, as expected, Mohamed Amir will bowl the 17th over from the Hayes close end, and he'll start straight off at the new batsman, who is himself a big hitter, Alex Blake. If Essex don't get him out, there's only going to be one result here. He clubs the ball with considerable power. The batsman crossed while that catch was being taken, so the new batsman is the man on strike. At the other end is Heino Kuhn, who is on 9, and he's already hit 1-6, which rather limped over Simon Harmer's head, just had the legs to go for 6. Here comes Amir, left arm over, Hayes close end, bowls, and Blake taken on the pad. They scoot through for a leg by, and the score goes along. In fact, I'm not sure if he signalled a leg by there. Maybe there was
a bat onto pad.
Yeah, bat onto pad. 151 for 4. Blake indeed credited with the run there.
So 39 from 23, and what impact will Mohamed Amir have here? He can bowl 2 fairly tight overs. It's going to put a lot of pressure on Kent with the other 2 overs, but they do still have 6 wickets in hand. Yeah,
it's worth remembering, Nick, that there was a hold-up in Mohamed Amir getting his visa, and for the first several games, bearing in mind Essex weren't playing Jamie Porter, they didn't really have anyone.
No, they struggled with that department.
Yeah, didn't have a go-to bowler at all, as Amir is coming in again. Bowls Kuhn, and Kuhn has hit the ball back past the bowler, but I think it's only going to be a single. Harmer fielding just inside the circle at mid-off, keeps it down to that 1 run that takes the score to 152 for 4. Well, certainly Essex have come back well after really at halfway. Kent had 9 wickets in hand and looked as if they'd stroll over the line, but maybe Kent have just got too many wickets in hand. We'll see. Amir is in to bowl to the left-handed Alex Blake, and Blake has clubbed this ball back over the bowler's head and for 4. So there's 1 bounce 4, 156 for 4, and Blake, as I was saying, he knows how to club a cricket ball. He's not particularly elegant, but he's very effective.
Yeah, he hit that straight, safe area, long on with no chance of getting around, and well, that means what, 34 required now off 21. Amir
again, bowling to Blake. It'd be interesting to see if Amir tries what was quite effective for him in his earlier spell when he bowled 2 or 3 slow ball bouncers. He's got that ability to change the pace without it being obvious as he runs in now. Bowls. This one has taken Blake on the pad. They've run 1. They're not going to come back for a second. Just looking to see if there's any signal this time. Indeed, there is a leg by. 157 for 4, and we've had 4 balls of the 17th over. Yeah, so 33 off 20. Essex don't want another boundary in this over. They'd love a wicket. Kent just about doing what they need to get from this Mohamed Amir over, particularly if they get another boundary. Here comes Amir again. It's a lovely flood-lit scene on a lovely evening at Chelmsford. Bowls in the block hole, and that one's gone straight to square leg, but they can get through for a single. Heino Kuhn will move along to 11, the score to 158 for 4 with 1 ball left of the 17th. No sign of that rash of wides, which was just inexplicable in GS Bowl when Hampshire were in a slightly more difficult situation and then were just gifted all those wides, but thankfully no sign of bat at the moment. Remember the position here with Kent needing 190 to win, another 32 needed in 19 deliveries. is that if Essex can win this game and Glamorgan beat Hampshire as they look like doing, Essex could still qualify, and this ball is going to disappear, I think, to the backward square leg boundary, or maybe it's just been cut off down beneath us, our view obscured, and indeed it is cut off, and they get 2 runs there, and so that was retrieved by Adam Zampa, who now emerges from under the Tom Pearce stand balcony, and the score at the end of that over is 160 for 4 in 17 overs.
They started off needing 10 and over, and they still do, and I think Kent will be pretty pleased with that because they've got the 10 off Mohammed Amir's over, so they'll be quite pleased with that. 30 off 3 with 6 wickets and had only 1 over of Amir left. Probably just shifted a little bit further towards Kent, Paul. They're certainly favourites at the moment. Again, Essex needing another wicket.
Well, the golden arm Ravinder Bopara is brought on from the from the river end rather than Jamie Porter.
He hasn't bowled this late in the innings for a while, Bopara. Delport's got 1 left. Bopara bowling his last. Porter has 2 left. Harmer has 2 left. Essex
certainly need to take wickets. They won't win this game if they don't remove at least one of the current players. So 3 overs to go. 1 run will come from the first ball of the 3rd last over, being bowled by Bopara as the ball is hit firmly down to the Essex skipper Simon Harmer on the long off boundary. Harmer, captain in this form of the game, Tenduscarter in the other 2 forms, the Championship where he's captained the side so brilliantly these last 4 seasons. Essex currently on course for a 2nd title in 3 years, having malingered in the 2nd division for seemingly forever, but now having a wonderful time in Division 1. Here's Bopara in, bowls, and Blake has hit this ball down the ground. 1 bounce to Ryan Tenduscarter at long off, single, and the score to 162 for 4.
One thing worth mentioning, given we saw a tie on Sunday, is that if Hampshire lose, a tie looks to be good enough for Kent, which is just something that's worth bearing in mind if it gets very tight.
Yeah, but not for Essex.
No, not for Essex, but might well be good enough for Kent.
Popara bowls, and he's bowled him, has got through the defences of Pine O'Coon, and could this be the start of Essex turning this round, because all of a sudden Kent have lost their 5th wicket. 162 for 5. Ollie Robinson due in next, and Coon, who never really got going, half his 12 runs came from 1 blow, and that was very nearly a catch, and he departs for 12, bowled by the magic arm of Ravinder Bopara.
Well, as I said, we haven't seen much of him late in the play in these games, but he's playing quite a pivotal role tonight with bat and ball, playing a real all-round role, Ravi Bopara, and showing again his ability to take a wicket when it's really needed. 28 off 15, and with Amir still an over to go, suddenly we've got a situation where they've only got 2 runs from the first 3 balls of this over, and they've lost a wicket. And now you'll feel that Kent probably need a boundary and to get through the rest of this over unscathed. So it's again just a little bit of a turnaround, because Kent were favourites going into this over, and with 3 deliveries, just a couple of singles and a wicket, Ravi's just turning it round again.
47 not out with the bat, 2 catches, first 2 wickets to go down, and now this 5th wicket as he bowls and attempted to toss a wide down leg side, only just I think outside leg, but we know that is there for a while. 163 for 5.
27 off 15. Really tense here, so much riding on this.
Bopara to bowl to Ollie Robinson, the Kent wicketkeeper batsman, and takes the pace off this, and it's well stopped, diving stop at short 3rd man, and good work by Adam Zampa there, and score along to 164 for 5. Target 190. 26 more needed, and we have 14 balls remaining. Alex Blake, the powerful left-hander into strike. He'd be a very good man for Essex to dismiss. Bopara bowls to him. Oh, there's appeal here. It's not going to be out, and they go through for a leg by. Probably pitched outside leg stump. Looked to me as if it would have hit the stumps, and the score to 165 for 5.
Nothing more than a single off any ball in this over. 25 from 13, the extra ball because of the wide, and Bopara will be hoping that Kent don't benefit from this.
Bopara to complete the over. Bowles. Oh, this has gone a long way up in the air. Should be a catch. Harmer underneath it. Takes it. Wicket. 165 for 6. 25 more needed. And Kent are doing their level best to throw this away.
Well, they've not been used to winning, Kent. We know that. And it was shown last night. And for the second night in a row, they could be turning a winning position into one that results in defeat. And not for the first time, actually, in this campaign. We have somebody coming in with very little clothes on. He's actually got some shorts on. And unlike last time, we do actually have a steward who is coming in to intervene. Last time, the stewards weren't involved at all. And he's just now making his way off. I always think he should be asked to field at short leg when they come on like that.
Oh, very good, yeah.
Now, back to the serious stuff. That's another very good wicket for Essex to have taken. 165 for 6. There's an over for Mohamed Amir to come. He's eluding the stewards at the moment. It's not exactly a massive chase or the most convincing chase of the steward. I think he's going to be allowed to make his own way off. But anyway, a little bit of amusement for the crowd. 165 for 6. And, well, this is gone back in Essex's favour. Mohamed Amir to bowl 6 of the last 12 deliveries, 25 off 12.
And just 5 runs and a wicket in that over for Bopara. And 4 overs, no maidens, 2 for 27, Bopara. I mean, those are terrific figures. Playing against a good batting side like Kent. And what a match he's had. 47 not out, but catches for the first 2 wickets that fell. And then 4 overs, 2 for 27. He's still a brilliant cricketer.
Captured these 62 off 23 balls with 6 wickets in hand, but surely that's a huge ask.
Mohamed Amir, penultimate over, races in from the H close end, bowls good ball in the block hole, and that ball has been played away. And just checking, it's 4 runs away to my left, have slightly obscured our view down there in front of the scoreboard. It is 4 runs, so he just straight onto leg stump, and that takes it to 169 for 6. And this game ebb and flow, that just puts the ball slightly back in Kent's court with another 21 needed.
Off 11, and I asked to the Aegeus Bowl how many runs were Essex happy to defend in the last over, and I was hoping it would be 15. It turned out to be rather go haywire because of the 19th over, but they won't want more than, say, or less than 12 needed off the last over.
So the next delivery's been hit back and just evades the leaping Simon Harmer on the edge of the circle at mid-off. It's 4 more, and this is a good start from Hardis Villian, who has begun with 2 boundaries, one down to long leg, the other just clearing the leaping Harmer at mid-off, and it's 173 for 6, advantage back to Kent. 17 off 10. I reckon they don't want Kent needing fewer than 12 in the last over with still 4 wickets in hand, Paul, so they don't want more than 1 more boundary at the most in this over. Amir again comes in and bowls to Villian, and Villian has chipped this ball up in the air, and it bounces infuriatingly about 1 stride in front of Harmer there. He didn't pick it up immediately, actually. It probably isn't that easy to do so under the lights, and it bounced just in front of him, and a single is taken, and the score goes to 174 for 6, and now 16 are needed from 9 deliveries. Really important that there isn't another boundary here. I just feel that if Kent can get another boundary in a couple of singles, you've got to bat them the last over needing around about 10s. So this is a really important phase. Amir could do with a wicket here, but these 2 batting pretty well. Surprised he hasn't bowled a slower ball in this return spell of his, but here he comes again, bowling to the left-handed Blake, and bowls him. 7th wicket down. Blake is bowled by Mohamed Amir for 7, and still 16 are needed, and now 8 deliveries left. Just when they needed it, really, because I think he was looking again for that boundary. Could make the difference. 16 off 8, 3 wickets in hand. It's just about advantage Essex, but again another boundary from the next 2 deliveries would give Kent another real chance. And as I say, I think a tie might be good enough for Kent, and there could even be towards the end of this some frantic signals from the dressing room. But from the Essex point of view, at the moment, really on the knife edge. It's looking good for Glamorgan at Cardiff. Can Essex win this game and secure really the most extraordinary of qualifications? And go a hell of a long way as a consequence if they end up playing at Chester-le-Street, where Essex must have last played, I would think, probably over a decade ago. Absolutely, and they will be going there. Lancashire are going to beat Leicestershire in the group. but they'll only be going there if they win this game.
Yep.
And it's Imran Qayyum, the slow left arm for Kent, who must now wield the bat to some effect. And we have 2 balls left of the penultimate over. 8 deliveries remain. Probably Jamie Porter to bowl the last over, but 2 balls left of this one first. 174 for 7, 16 off 8 needed, and he bowls and bowls it. Another wicket's down. Qayyum departs. Golden duck bowled by Amir from North. 174 for 8, 16 needed off 7.
Again, Kent's poor form of recent times, where they've forgotten how to win, is hurting them. And Mohammad Amir, well, it's been an extraordinary over. The first 2 balls going for 4. But actually there's been a trend here, Paul, with several overs, and I can think of overs of spin included here, which has started off poorly for Essex and been dragged back by wickets. This is the most spectacular example so far. 16 required off 7, and Mohammad Amir could end with a hat-trick.
Yes, good point. Hat-trick ball to come, and it's Mitch Claydon, who's a wily old customer, as he showed with the ball. He's very much a man who bowls. He's not picked for his batting, but he's very powerfully built, and anything he does hit is likely to go quite a long way at quite a velocity. Left-handed, and he now prepares to take guard for Amir's last ball of the match, and quite possibly of the season for Essex, because this is the last zonal game if Essex don't qualify for the knockout stages. Here he comes. Amir's on his way. Bowls to Claydon. Oh, it's a good delivery, and it's a dot ball. It hasn't got him a hat-trick, but a terrific end to Amir's spell. 4 overs, no maidens, 2 for 29. Bopara, 4 overs, no maiden, 2 for 27. End of the 19th over, requiring 190. Kent 174 for 8, with 9 to the dangerous Villiers, who began with 2 fours and then a single. He's only faced 3 balls, and he'll be on strike for the final over. Jamie Porter is going to bowl it from the river end. I did make a point earlier, Nick, of saying, could that 6 off the last ball of the Essex innings by Ravinder Bopara be the difference at the end of the game? We don't know at this stage, but thank goodness he did hit it for 6.
Yes, it's making a big difference here, isn't it? So Kent need a further 16, but probably in reality 15. I think a tie is okay for them at the moment, with Glamorgan beating Hampshire.
Jamie Porter will bowl from his less favoured river end. He hasn't bowled at all from his very much favoured Hayes Close end tonight. It's only his second T20 appearance of the season, his first coming 24 hours ago when he took 4 for 38 to help Essex beat Surrey. Hardesvillian on strike, and he's shown he knows exactly how to strike a cricket ball. Here comes Porter. In and bowls to Villiers, and he's bowled him! The 3rd wicket clean bowled in the last 4 deliveries sees Kent slump to 174 for 9, 16 needed off 5 balls, and Essex will kick themselves if they don't win this now.
Well, they're closing this game out as effectively as they did at home, as effectively as they did at the Oval, in contrast, of course, to what happened at the Ageas Bowl. But at the moment it looks like that match won't matter, because Essex now in a tremendous position to secure an extraordinary qualification, having been absolutely nowhere in this group, having been completely destroyed by Hampshire and Somerset on this ground, just reduced to absolute ruins. But they've fought back brilliantly in the last 10 days, and now from nowhere, what a chance they've got, because Hampshire need 44 from 13 balls at Cardiff, and here it's 16 from 5 with the last pair together for Kent.
Fred Klassen has come out now to join forces with, just trying to remind myself, it's Mitch Claydon at the non-strikers end. 5 balls remain, 16 are needed. You would feel absolute minimum 2 balls have to go to the boundary for Kent to win this game, possibly even 3. Porter, I imagine, if he can repeat that ball which he just bowled, brilliant bowling right in the block hole, and of course Hardesvillian had no option really but to throw the bat, missed it, bowled, and various late adjustments to the field. Somebody's thrown a hat onto the field down at long off, so there's a delay while Harmer throws it back into the crowd. And Porter can bowl the 5th last ball of the innings. 5 balls to go, 16 needed. Essex can't afford for Kent to score more than 14. A tie wouldn't do them. And now we've got someone trying to climb over the boards. Crowd generally have been very good tonight. Here's Porter in. Bowls, and this ball's in. Hit away, but I think it's only going to be a single here. Dan Lawrence does the fielding on the mid-wicket boundary. Porter applauds him because he's sent in a good return. 1 bounce return, 1 run to get off the mark to Klassen there. Mitch Claydon is the man Kent would want on strike, really, because although he's not an authentic batsman, he is capable of hitting boundaries, and the score is 175 for 9, so there are 4 balls left. Strictly to win it, Kent need 15, but Essex must keep them down to no more than 13.
Surely Essex are going to win from here. It's just a brief moment, of course, at the Oval last night, where we had Jordan Clark threatening to get an awful lot of runs in the last over, but actually the margin could be very similar to last night.
Here comes Porter, 4th last ball of the match to bowl to the left-handed Mitch Claydon. Digs it in short, and Claydon has hit this ball straight to the man on the square leg boundary, and they won't get more than a single. And all of a sudden, that's great intelligent bowling, a different type of delivery from Porter. It's paid off with just a single onto the board. 100, not sure if they've put that run up, just checking with David Jackman if it's 175 or 176. It is 176 for 9 indeed. The board very slow to put that single up. And it's 1 to each of the batsmen, Klassen and Claydon. Wicket 1-1 in this over. And now Kent need 14 more from 3 balls as Porter bowls. It's well bowled, and this is probably only going to produce at most 2 more. They've taken 1, they're coming back for the second, and they get the second run comfortably enough, but even that leaves Kent with 2 balls remaining, 178 for 9. They need 12 for victory. They've got to hit both these for 6, and so far that hasn't looked particularly likely, with Fred Klassen, the last man, on strike.
Hampshire need 40 from 9 balls, and surely not going to get that. 4 wickets left.
Porter comes in. Essex can't afford to concede more than 12 off these last 2 balls, and the first a brilliant ball from Porter. It's Yorker length. The ball is only dug out to Ravinder Bopara in the covers, and short of Porter bowling wides and no balls, Essex have won. It's as simple as that, because the score is 179 for 9. 11 runs are still needed from a Kent point of view. A tie is no use to Essex, but even there, with 1 ball left, Kent would need to get another 10 runs for the tie. So Essex have won this game, and it will be Mitch Claydon on strike for what, provided it's not a wide or a no ball, will be the last ball of the match. Jamie Porter's bowled a terrific final over here as he comes in now around the wicket to Mitch Claydon. Wicket 1-1-2-1 in this over, and up comes Porter and bowls to Claydon, and he's bowled him. Brilliant bowling from Jamie Porter. Essex have won this game by 10 runs. They got 189 for 6, and they have bowled out Kent, who collapsed absolutely dramatically and calamitously. And their season in T20 that started so convincingly with 5 straight wins has, I'm afraid, simply gone to pieces. And Essex has provided that Glamorgan do beat Hampshire, and that looked very unlikely, bearing in mind Glamorgan, their opponents, haven't won a single one of their 13 games. But this is just another extraordinary match, Nick. This was a great game in itself, but the fact that Glamorgan would suddenly decide to win a game, if they do, and it's not a done deal yet, but if they do, well, what an incredible end to the season for Essex.
Well, Hampshire need 36 off 7, and we will actually be able to just go over that. We're going to go over and join that. Certainly it's hopeless for Hampshire, but we're going to just join the final over there in Cardiff, and then we'll come back and wrap this up.